Chapter 1067. 15 minutes later, in the meeting hall of the Demon Commander Palace. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander sat on the main seat with a gloomy face and a chilling look in his eyes. 2 Protector Commanders and 8 Elite Protectors stood in the hall with their armors and swords, waiting for orders. Seeing the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander's gloomy face and chilling murderous aura, everyone was trembling in fear and did not even dare to breathe loudly. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander looked at one of the Protector Commanders and asked, "Where is the Saintess? Where is the bodyguard named Oolong?" The Guard Commander hurriedly replied, reporting to Lord Demon Commander, "Early this morning, Her Highness the Saintess took 50 personal guards and went to the Yuyong tribe. The bodyguard named Oolong broke into the Saintess' bedroom for no reason and has been taken down by the Saintess Palace's protectors. He is in the ice prison and is waiting for the Saintess to punish him." The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander nodded and shouted, "Go to the ice prison now and bring him to see Shuai." The 2 Protector Commanders immediately cupped their fists and left the hall. They rushed to the ice prison in the Saintess Palace. The hall was quiet again as the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander waited patiently. About half an hour later, the 2 Guard Commanders came back with flustered looks on their faces. They rushed into the hall as fast as the wind. "Demon Commander. Something bad has happened. The bodyguard named Oolong is not in the ice prison. He has escaped." The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander's face changed when he heard the news. He was filled with murderous aura. "Bastard! Damn bastard! Something is wrong with him." The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander smashed the armrest of the Jade Throne in his anger. He stood up with a swoosh and shouted angrily, "The few of you, immediately bring people to search around the sacred mountain. You must find Oolong. I want to see him if he is alive or dead." The 2 Protector Commanders did not dare to hesitate. They immediately cupped their fists and left the hall with the Protectors to search. After the Protectors left, the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander frowned and thought for a while. He mumbled to himself, "The bodyguard named Oolong is probably here for the Saintess." The safety of the Saintess was at stake, and nothing could go wrong. Otherwise, Shuai would not be able to answer to His Majesty, the Nephilim King. This won't do. Shuai must immediately rush to the brave tribe and personally protect the Saintess. He must not give Oolong any chance to take advantage of this. After saying that, the Heaven Barbarian Demon Commander flew out of the hall. He turned into a stream of light and flew into the sky, rushing toward the valiant tribe as fast as lightning. When night fell, the personal guards finally arrived at the Yuyong tribe after a day of continuous travel. The valiant tribe was the closest medium-sized tribe to the Heavenly Devil Palace. This tribe was located in a wide valley between several snowy mountains. There were more than 80,000 people in the tribe, and the chief's strength had reached the half-step soul refinement realm. In addition, there were over 50 Heavenly Origin stage experts and over 300 Yuan Dan stage experts in the tribe. The younger generation of the demon race was also constantly producing geniuses with outstanding aptitude. In recent years, the Brave Hero tribe had developed very quickly and had become one of the top forces among the medium-sized tribes. The Demon Emperor had the intention of supporting this tribe and wanted it to quickly develop into a large tribe. Therefore, the Demon Emperor had asked the Saintess to personally come to the valiant tribe to baptize the young demon race and help them improve their aptitude. The personal guards carried the jade carriage and entered the valiant tribe. The chief, elders, and priests of the tribe had already received the news and were waiting respectfully at the entrance of the valley. After both parties met, the chief, elders, and priests of the tribe knelt down and bowed to express their gratitude and welcome to the Saintess. Then, the chief and the rest of the people welcomed the personal guards into the tribe. The Saintess and 2 maidservants were arranged to stay in the most luxurious palace in the tribe for a night's rest. The 50 personal guards were arranged to stay in the courtyards around the palace and were ready to listen to the Saintess' orders and instructions at any time. As for the baptism, of course, it would not be carried out tonight. The saintess and the personal guards had come from afar, so they had to rest for a night and recharge their energy. The baptism ceremony would be carried out tomorrow. After an hour, the saintess and the personal guards had settled down and the tribe regained its tranquility. In the palace where the saintess was staying, there were specks of lights and it was very quiet. In a room on the top floor of the palace, 2 maidservants were guarding the door. They lowered their eyelids and waited for orders at any time. In the room, the saintess Yunyao was sitting cross-legged on a cold jade bed. Her face was calm and her eyes were as cold as ice. She was thinking quietly. After a whole day, she had already calmed down. However, what had happened last night and the memory of the soul in the rhino bracelet still appeared in her mind, making her feel confused. She sat on the cold jade bed in a daze and still didn't understand what was going on. Suddenly, a slight wind came from the door of the room. Swoosh! The figure of a male demon appeared out of thin air at the door. The 2 maidservants were immediately alerted. They subconsciously wanted to draw their swords and shout. However, this young demon stretched out his palms as fast as lightning and slashed the necks of the 2 maidservants. With 2 muffled bangs, the 2 maids were knocked unconscious on the spot. Their bodies softly fell to the ground. Swoosh! The young demon's figure flashed and entered the room as fast as a gust of wind. He came in front of Yunyao. Yunyao had already woken up. When she saw the young demon's face, she immediately frowned and a cold light flashed in her eyes. It's you again. Oolong, you dared to escape from the ice prison and chase us here. Yunyao stared at Oolong with a cold face and scolded him with a cold voice. Without a doubt, Oolong was Ji Tianqing, who had followed the personal guards to the brave hero tribe. He looked at Yunyao with a complicated look and said in a low voice, Yao Yao, although you've been demonized and lost your memory, I will save you and find a way to wake you up. Last night, I left a jade pendant in your room. It's a gift from our master before our wedding. It's called the Rhino Bracelet. The Rhino Bracelet has 2 halves. You and I each have 1 half. The 2 halves are combined into 1. The bracelet is engraved with the memories of our souls, recording every little thing that happened between us. Even if you've forgotten me, you should remember it as long as you see the bracelet. Yunyao didn't call the personal guards to catch them. She just looked at him with an expressionless face and listened to him quietly. After he finished talking, she took out 2 silver bead chains from her interspatial ring and presented them in front of Ji Tianqing. Is this the rhino bracelet you're talking about? Ji Tianqing was overjoyed when he saw that she had kept the rhino bracelet. He said with a gratified voice, Yao Yao, you finally remember the past and remember me? Yunyao looked at him indifferently and gently shook her head. Ji Tianqing frowned and kept silent for a while. Then, he said in a deep voice, no matter what, I'll help you awaken your memory. However, we have to leave this place as soon as possible. Yao Yao, I'm sorry to offend you. Chapter 1068. In Yunyao's memories, she was the saintess of the demon race when she woke up from the blood pool of 10,000 demons. She had no past and no memories of the first 20 years. She didn't know where she came from or what she had experienced. She only knew that she was the saintess of the demon race and had to listen to the demon emperor. She had to perform a secret technique for the demon race to remove the bloodline curse. Of course, she didn't need to lower her head to anyone except the demon emperor. Every demon was afraid of her and revered her. They didn't dare to disobey her. Therefore, she didn't expect that Ji Tianqing would dare to attack her. When Ji Tianqing's palms grabbed her, she was stunned for a moment before she reacted. She subconsciously raised her palms to counterattack. However, her strength was far inferior to Ji Tianqing's. Before she could raise her arms, her shoulders were pressed down by Ji Tianqing. A majestic force pressed down on her, making her sit on the ice jade bed and unable to move. A majestic force gushed out of Ji Tianqing's palms and quickly drilled into her body, sealing her meridians and strength. She couldn't resist at all and was about to shout for help in a hurry. However, Ji Tianxing had already accumulated a majestic force of divine sense and hit her head, knocking her out on the spot. Ugh! Yun Yao's body shook and her face turned as pale as paper. Her eyes opened and closed a few times before she powerlessly closed them and fell into a coma. Ji Tianxing released her shoulders and looked at her with a complicated expression. He muttered to himself, "Yao Yao, I can only wrong you for the time being. After I help you awaken your memories, all of this will end." After saying that, he took out the broken sword burial of heaven and put the unconscious Yun Yao into the sword's world. He settled Yun Yao in the peaceful Earth City and let the Jinshan King and his wife guard her. After doing this, he quietly left the palace and flew into the dark night sky, quickly escaping from the brave tribe. His movements were very stealthy. He did not make any movements, and was not discovered by anyone. After all, there was no soul refinement realm expert in the entire Valiant tribe. The strongest tribe chief was only a half-step soul refinement realm expert. After escaping from the Yuyong tribe, he flew in the night sky and headed straight to the south. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to get as far away from the Demon Emperor's lair as possible. Because he knew that paper couldn't wrap fire, and this matter would be exposed very soon. At that time, the Devil Emperor would definitely send out a few devil marshals and a large number of experts to hunt him down. Unknowingly, 2 hours passed. Under the curtain of night, the brave sword tribe was quiet and silent. Tens of thousands of demon commoners were sleeping. Right at this moment, a dazzling and eye-catching blood-red light flew over from the distant horizon. It flew into the hero tribe as fast as lightning. Shwa! The bloody light flew directly to the chief's residence and landed in front of the gate of a palace. After the bloody light faded, a tall and sturdy figure appeared. It was a middle-aged man from the demon race. He was more than 3 meters tall and had 4 wings and 6 arms. He exuded a strong murderous aura, and the single eye on his forehead was surging with cold light. He was the Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal who had rushed over. There were 2 guards on both sides of the gate of the palace. When they saw the Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal, the 2 of them immediately went up to greet him. "Sir, may I know who you are?" The Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal did not waste any time with them. He ordered coldly, "Ask your tribe chief to come out and meet Benchuai." The 2 guards looked at each other in shock. They quickly turned and entered the palace to report the news to the tribe chief. After a while, the tribe chief rushed out of the palace in a panic and came to the gate. When he saw the Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal, his expression changed. He bowed in fear and said, "Greetings, Sir Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal." The Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal looked at him sharply and asked in a deep voice, "Where is the saint?" The tribe chief was stunned and quickly answered, "Sir Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal, I've arranged for the saint to stay in the Sky Brave Palace, bring Benchuai there." The Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal shouted expressionlessly. The tribe chief did not dare to ask further, nor did he dare to disobey. He quickly extended his hand and made a "please" gesture. "Please follow me, Sir Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal." Then, he personally led the Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal to the most luxurious Sky Brave Palace in the tribe. When the 2 of them arrived at the Sky Brave Palace, the Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal asked the tribe chief, "Which room is the saint staying in?" The tribe chief pointed at the 3rd floor of the palace and answered honestly, "She's in the room in the middle of the 3rd floor. Wait here." The Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal ordered and entered the palace alone. When he reached the 3rd floor of the palace and walked to the door of one of the rooms, he saw 2 maids lying on the ground in front of the door. They were both unconscious. When he saw that, his expression changed, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Damn it! Could it be that I'm still a step too late? Without saying a word, he pushed open the door and barged into the room. There was no doubt that the room was empty. There was only a dim light in the room. The saint was nowhere to be seen. Arg! The Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal was enraged. He raised his hand and slammed the wall of the room, shattering it into pieces. A muffled explosion reverberated in the night sky. Countless rubble and bricks also burst out and scattered around the palace. The huge commotion immediately woke up the saint's bodyguards. The tribe chief was also shocked. He quickly flew to the door of the room on the third floor and asked, "Lord Demon Marshal, what happened?" The Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal stood in the room. He was so angry that his body was shaking. His face was distorted, and his body was emitting a raging blood flame. "The saint is missing. Ben Shui is sure that the saint has been kidnapped by the Oolong. Pass down my order. Gather all the men and search the tribe and the surrounding area immediately. No matter what, we have to find the saint and the Oolong even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground." "What? The saint is missing?" The tribe chief was dumbfounded. He opened his eyes wide and stood rooted to the ground. The Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal ignored him. He flew out of the palace in a flash and hovered above the tribe. He released his spiritual energy to search for clues. After a while, the tribe chief came to his senses and passed down the order of the Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal. He personally led a large group of experts to search for the saint. The news of the saint's disappearance spread quickly in the tribe. Dozens of bodyguards were so frightened that they did not know what to do. They searched everywhere anxiously. Countless people in the valiant tribe were also shocked. The news was spread by word of mouth, and soon, the whole tribe was in an uproar, causing a great commotion. The valiant tribe was destined to be restless tonight. If they could not find the saint, the 50 bodyguards would be executed. Even the Sky Barbarian Devil Marshal would be severely punished by the demonic king. Chapter 1069. The night passed by quickly. Ji Tianqing flew tens of thousands of miles at top speed and finally left the valiant tribe and the heavenly devil palace. When dawn broke, he was flying over a snowy mountain. It was a world of ice and snow all around, and the cold wind was as sharp as a knife. The world was a vast expanse of white. At this moment, Yunyao woke up and was making a fuss about going out. The Golden Mountain King couple did not dare to hurt her, so they could only temporarily seal her in the room and quickly report the situation to Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing made a prompt decision and landed on the snowy mountain. He used the earth escape technique and drilled into the snowy mountain. He temporarily dug a cave in the middle of the mountain and set up 2 defensive formations to protect the cave. Then, his soul left his body and sealed Oolong's body in the seal of mountains and rivers. He took out his true body and his soul returned to his body, restoring his original appearance. After doing all this, he took out the broken sword and opened the entrance to the sword world. Swoosh! The cold, pitch-black broken sword flashed with a dazzling white light. Immediately, Yunyao flew out of the sword world and landed in front of Ji Tianqing. She obviously did not expect that she would suddenly appear in a cave in another space when she was still in the palace in peaceful Earth City. She was a little stunned. After looking around a few times, she stared at Ji Tianqing. When she saw Ji Tianqing's appearance, her body shook and she frowned in confusion. You're not a demon. Who are you? Ji Tianqing looked at her calmly and said in a calm tone, Yao Yao, I'm Ji Tianqing, your husband. If you saw the soul memory in the Lingxi bracelet, you should remember me. Yunyao fell silent. She stared at him with a complicated expression. She was confused and puzzled. Of course, she remembered the scene recorded in the Lingxi bracelet. The beautiful young man and woman were her and Ji Tianqing. But those scenes were very unfamiliar to her. She could not remember them at all. After a moment of silence, she asked indifferently, Where is this? Ji Tianqing saw that she was calm and did not overreact. He felt comforted. This is the wilderness, on a nameless snow mountain. Pausing for a moment, he saw Yunyao frown, so he added another sentence. I know you want to go back to the Saintess Palace, but that's impossible. I risked my life to bring you out with great difficulty. I can't let you go back. Yunyao looked at him expressionlessly. Her eyes were calm and indifferent. She asked, what do you want to do? This was the hinterland of the demon race. The entire northern desert continent was filled with demons. As a human, you actually dare to barge in here. If you are discovered by the devil race, only death awaits you. Ji Tianqing listened to her words and thought to himself, although Yao Yao doesn't have any memories of the past, but from her words, she obviously doesn't have much feelings for the demon race. Moreover, she doesn't reject the human race. She probably already accepted the memories of the Lingxi bracelet and understood my intentions. Thinking of this, he struck while the iron was hot. He said, Yao Yao, the reason why I risked my life to cross half of the profound sky continent and sneak into the demon emperor's lair to find you is because I am your husband and you are my wife. We once swore an oath of eternal love. We will live and die together, and never leave each other. You once risked your life to save me. When you are in danger, I will also risk everything to save you. Even if you have lost your memories, you should know that you are not a demon. You were only demonized by the demon emperor using a secret technique. You and I are both humans. The soul memories recorded in the Lingxi bracelet are the bits and pieces between you and me. This is the best proof. Yunyao was still silent. She slowly squatted down and sat on the ground. She tugged at the hem of her white dress and covered her knees and calves. She stepped on the cold rock with her bare feet. She hugged her head with both arms and lay on her knees. She looked at the ground in confusion and said calmly, Can you tell me about the past? I vaguely have some impressions, but every time I think about it, I get a splitting headache. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm missing some memories. It's like I have lost the most important thing. Seeing her reaction and hearing her words, Ji Tianqing was even more gratified and excited. He thought to himself, that's great. Yao Yao finally doesn't reject me anymore. It seems that she has only been demonized for a short time. There is still a chance to save and awaken her. He quickly sat down beside Yunyao and recalled the past with a smile. He said in a gentle voice, more than 2 years ago, you were the chief disciple of the Sky Pillar sect. You were also the #1 genius of the Tianjin region and a proud daughter of heaven whose name shook the 10 nations. At that time, you brought Hao Meng and Bai Wuchen to the Qingyun kingdom to preside over the entrance examination of the Sky Pillar sect. In the woods on the outskirts of the imperial city, I was chased by several masked assassins. At that time, you flew across the sky on the white crane spirit beast and saved me. Ji Tianqing began to tell Yunyao about the past. From the day they met, he recounted in detail everything that had happened in the past 2 years. Those ordinary and warm days, as well as those dangerous and unpredictable encounters, as well as the wedding ceremony and the celebratory memories that shook the world, he told her everything that had happened between the two of them. Yunyao listened quietly. Her expression didn't change much, but the look in her eyes became more and more complicated. When she heard something important, her soul would also tremble, and some fragmented memories and images would emerge. After a long silence, she slowly raised her head and looked at Ji Tianqing. She said in a complicated tone, although I still can't remember the past and forget who you are, I don't know why I feel so. Whenever I see you, my soul will throb and I can't help but feel a sense of closeness and trust. Maybe I should believe what you said. We used to be the closest people. But I don't have any memories of the past. The current you is still a stranger to me. I don't know what to do. After a pause, she said with a sincere expression, I'm missing. The Devil Emperor and the Devil Commander will definitely be very angry. They will find me no matter what. You'll definitely be surrounded in this northern desert continent with no way to escape. I don't want you to get hurt or even lose your life because of this. How about you let me go back? Ji Tianqing quickly shook his head and persuaded her with a firm tone, Ao Yao, it wasn't easy for me to save you. How can I give up now? Won't all my previous efforts be in vain? Don't worry, I have a way to save you. I'll definitely find a way to help you recover your memories. Yun Yao frowned and pondered for a while. Then, she asked him, what can you do? Ji Tianqing gazed into her eyes and said gently, to help you recover your memories, I have to figure out your situation and find out the reason. Chapter 1070. Yun Yao was a little hesitant. Ji Tianqing didn't urge her. He watched her silently and waited for her decision. Anyway, he had already thought it through. Even if Yun Yao didn't cooperate, he would take action by force. In such a situation and environment, he couldn't waste any time. After a while, Yun Yao said with a serious expression, I believe you this time. I hope you didn't lie to me. Ji Tianqing nodded and said with a smile, you are my wife. Why would I lie to you? Yun Yao didn't say anything else. She sat cross-legged on the ground and closed her eyes quietly. She restrained her mind and consciousness, remained calm, and didn't move at all. Ji Tianqing didn't waste any time. He quickly released an invisible divine soul power and invaded her mind. He had checked Yun Yao's physical condition before. After that, he analyzed it and asked the burial of heaven for advice. In the end, he came to the conclusion that the crux of the problem was probably in Yun Yao's soul. Therefore, he had to thoroughly check Yun Yao's soul to find the real reason. Yun Yao didn't resist. His divine soul successfully entered Yun Yao's mind. He could clearly see that Yun Yao's mind was wrapped in a ball of dark purple devil qi, and her soul was floating quietly in the devil qi. His divine soul passed through the devil qi and entered Yun Yao's soul. Then he found that Yun Yao's soul had indeed undergone a mutation. A normal person's soul was a ball of white soul mist. It would roll gently and condense into a little white mist person. However, Yun Yao's soul was dark purple. The little person condensed by her soul was also purple. She was wearing a purple dress and looked beautiful, but her temperament was cold and evil. When Ji Tianqing's divine soul power approached, her little person was immediately on guard and launched an attack angrily. Ji Tianqing hurriedly retreated and dodged. He circled around her soul and observed her situation. As the soul humanoid continued to attack, the demonic qi that enveloped his soul began to fluctuate violently, churning violently. The power of the devil qi was extremely insidious. It constantly corroded Ji Tianqing's soul, trying to corrode and demonize him. Fortunately, his divine soul power was extremely strong. For the time being, the devil qi couldn't do anything to him, let alone demonize his soul. Ji Tianqing's divine soul power continued to wander around Yun Yao's mind, probing deeper and deeper. Soon, he discovered a scene that shocked him to the core. In the deepest part of Yun Yao's mind, there was actually a thumb-sized blue pearl floating in the air. Inside the translucent pearl, there was a tiny person made of white soul mist. It was none other than Yun Yao. Of course, this little white soul was Yun Yao's original appearance. She was wearing a long white dress. Her appearance was beautiful, and her temperament was cold and holy. She was like a fairy from the 9 heavens. She quietly floated in the sea-blue orb, as if she had fallen into a deep sleep, unaware of everything in the outside world. Yao Yao. This is Yao Yao's soul. Ji Tianqing was pleasantly surprised. He was excited and agitated. He immediately realized the crux of the problem and vaguely guessed the real reason. I understand now. There are actually 2 souls in Yao Yao's mind. One is the original her, sealed in the orb and in a deep sleep. The other soul is the new devil soul that was born after she was demonized and turned into the blood god sun. The current Yao Yao's body is under the control of the devil soul, so she has lost her past memories and forgotten about me. Thinking of this, he quickly manipulated his divine soul power and approached the sea blue orb. As he got closer, he could clearly feel that the sea blue orb was extremely mysterious and powerful. It contained an ancient and vigorous power. Although this sea blue orb quietly floated in Yun Yao's mind and didn't actively emit light and power, it seemed to be very mysterious and hidden. However, Ji Tianqing could feel that the grade and power of this orb was no less than his sky-mending orb. It was definitely a rare divine item in the world. It seems that this mysterious orb is protecting Yao Yao's soul, which is why her soul has survived until now. Otherwise, after she was demonized and turned into the blood god Sun, her soul would have been destroyed long ago. Through the sea blue orb, he stared at the sleeping Yun Yao's soul and called out with his divine soul power, Yao Yao. Wake up quickly. I'm here to save you. However, he called out to the small soul person in the sea blue orb more than 10 times, but there was still no response. Helpless, he could only withdraw his divine soul power and temporarily leave Yun Yao's mind. Yun Yao's soul was shaken, and her face was slightly pale. She closed her eyes and adjusted her breathing. The cave was quiet. Ji Tianqing frowned and thought of a solution. I found the crux of the problem. Yao Yao has 2 souls, one righteous and one evil. I must find a way to eliminate the demonized soul. Only when Yao Yao's soul has taken control of her body can she regain her memories and consciousness. At this time, Burial of Heaven's voice rang in his mind and reminded him, after solving the problem of her soul, you still have to help her get rid of the devil blood and solve the problem of her body being demonized. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said in a heavy tone, that's right. Only by eliminating her devil soul and devil blood can she return to normal. Burial of Heaven said in a serious tone, however, the demon emperor used the ancient demon way and borrowed the power of the 10,000 demon blood pool and the samurai soul altar to demonize her into the blood god Sun. Her devil soul and devil blood are deeply rooted and powerful. They are very difficult to eliminate. Even if I can't do anything, how can you eliminate them? Moreover, in the process of eliminating her devil soul and devil blood, if any accident happens, she will die. Ji Tianqing's expression immediately changed, and his mood was incomparably heavy. He pondered for a long time and finally made up his mind. He said in a heavy tone, no matter what, I have to try. I will use Kenshin's secret art, the white heart demon subduing art, and borrow the power of the heaven-mending orb. I hope it will succeed. Burial of Heaven responded and said in a low voice, all right, then there's no time to lose. Quickly cast the art. I will protect you and suppress the power of your soul. Ji Tianqing no longer hesitated and quickly woke up Yun Yao who was meditating. He said to her, Yao Yao, I found the root of the problem. Cooperate with me one more time. In just a few hours, I can restore your soul and memories and let you understand the whole story. Yun Yao looked at him with a struggling and hesitant expression. She pursed her lips and remained silent for a long time. Then, she nodded slightly and said, reason tells me that I can't cooperate with you and I can't trust you. However, there seems to be a voice in the depths of my soul that keeps telling me to trust you. I'll give you one last chance. It's limited to 6 hours. If you still don't succeed after 6 hours, I will leave this place and return to the Holy Maiden Palace. Ji Tianqing nodded with a serious expression and said, all right, it's a promise. Yun Yao nodded and closed her eyes again. She gathered her mind and soul and entered an ethereal state. Chapter 1071. The White Heart Demon Subduing Art was a secret art that specialized in restraining the devil race. Ji Tianqing knew very well that Yun Yao was currently under the control of the devil soul. Her thoughts and consciousness were controlled by the devil soul. Yun Yao was only willing to give him a chance because she believed him subconsciously in the depths of her soul. Once the power of the White Heart Demon Subduing Art entered Yun Yao's mind, it would definitely hurt the devil soul. At that time, Yun Yao would have to resist with all her might. Therefore, he had made preparations in advance. He used the power of his divine soul to seal Yun Yao's meridians and essence core so that she couldn't use her devil soul, move, or resist. Swoosh! The power of the white heart demon subduing art poured out of his palms and turned into a sacred golden light that flooded into Yun Yao's mind. Immediately, the dark purple devil chi in her mind was dispersed by the golden light and surged violently. If the sacred golden light was like the sun, then the dark purple devil chi was like ice and snow. Any devil chi that was enveloped by the golden light would be dispelled and quickly dissipate. Yun Yao's expression changed dramatically. She opened her eyes wide and glared at Ji Tianqing. Although she couldn't speak, her eyes were filled with anger and hatred. She seemed to be blaming Ji Tianqing for treating her like this. The sacred golden light spread out in her mind and kept dispelling the dark purple devil chi. Her mind was fierce and chaotic. She only felt pain as if she was being cut by a knife. Her soul felt like it was being torn apart. The intense pain caused her face to turn ghastly pale and bloodless. Her pupils surged with purple light, revealing hatred and killing intent. Yao Yao, I'm sorry. I had no choice. This was the only way to wake you up. Ji Tianqing looked at her with sincere eyes and murmured in a low voice. He couldn't bear to look into Yun Yao's eyes. He didn't want to see her eyes filled with hatred and murderous intent. Therefore, he closed his eyes and focused on casting the spell. Soon, the power of the white heart demon subduing art removed most of the devil chi in Yun Yao's mind. The remaining devil chi had already retreated into the dark purple soul humanoid. In his empty mind, there was only a ball of dark purple demonic fog that wrapped around the purple demonic soul. She roared angrily, glaring at the divine golden light with incomparable hatred, desperately dodging and fleeing. Ji Tianqing continued to release even more powerful spiritual power, causing the divine golden light to fill her mind, forcing her to have nowhere to hide. Finally, she was forced to the point where she had nowhere to run. She put up a desperate struggle, desperately resisting the purification of the divine golden light. You bastard! You keep saying that I'm your wife and that you won't hurt me, but what about now? Not only do you want to remove my power, but you also want to kill me. You liar! You have a human face but the heart of a beast. You are treacherous and despicable. The devil soul midget cursed with a ferocious expression. He hated Ji Tianqing to the core. Ji Tianqing said to her through his divine soul, yes, Yun Yao is my wife. I will protect her even if I have to sacrifice my life. I will never hurt her. But you are not her. You are just a demonic soul created by the Demon King using an ancient demonic technique. You are the one who controls Yao Yao's body, mind, and consciousness. As long as I purify and dispel you, Yao Yao's soul will wake up. The devil soul midget was stunned for a moment. Then, he shouted even more angrily, nonsense. I am her, and she is me. You actually want to destroy your wife's soul with your own hands. To tell you the truth, His Majesty the Demon King has set up a soul lamp for me. Once you kill me, His Majesty the Demon King will immediately sense it and find your location. At that time, even if I die, His Majesty the Demon King will kill you and bury you with me. Ji Tianqing was stunned. He frowned hesitantly. Damn it! I should have guessed that the Demon King's means would not be so simple. He really has a backup plan. He was secretly angry, anxious, and helpless. The devil soul midget saw that he was silent and his expression kept changing. He sneered and said, "You bastard. Let me go now. As long as you let me go, I can pretend that nothing happened. You can also escape safely." Ji Tianqing came to his senses. His expression and eyes became firm again. He said resolutely, "Don't even think about it. Even if the Demon King finds out, I will purify you. Then, he performed the White Heart Demon subduing spell with all his might. He released endless sacred golden light toward the Devil Soul Midget. The Devil Soul Midget was shocked. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Stop! If you don't stop, I will self-explode. By then, my body and soul will be destroyed and I will disappear completely." Indeed, once the Devil Soul Midget detonated, not only would the Devil Soul Midget be destroyed, but Yun Yao's body and soul would also be destroyed. Ji Tianqing felt that this was a tricky situation. He hesitated and thought about it. At this moment, the voice of the burial of heaven sounded in his mind. He said in a deep voice, "Tianqing, don't worry. I will help you suppress the Devil Soul. Even if she self-explodes, I will not let her destroy Yun Yao's body. Also, you can try using the heaven-mending orb. It might be effective." Ji Tianqing was relieved. He quickly activated the power of the heaven-mending orb and released a sacred white light into Yun Yao's mind. Swoosh! That mysterious white light immediately enveloped the Devil Soul Midget. The power of the white light was extremely powerful. No power could stop it. Even if the Devil Soul Midget struggled desperately and wanted to self-explode in desperation, it was still suppressed. Ji Tianqing could clearly see that the mysterious white light was constantly devouring the dark purple demon qi and eroding the Devil Soul Midget. In just 10 breaths, the demon qi protecting the Devil Soul Midget was completely devoured. Then, the Devil Soul Midget shrank rapidly. Its power was constantly draining and dissipating. That's great. The heaven-mending orb is really amazing. It can purify and devour the Devil Soul Midget. She can't resist. Ji Tianqing was full of gratification and excitement. He patiently waited for the result. About 15 minutes later, the Devil Soul Midget was completely devoured by the heaven-mending orb and disappeared completely. Yun Yao's mind returned to normal. There was no trace of demon qi left. After the Devil Soul Midget was eliminated, her physical body also fell into a deep sleep. It sat on the ground without any reaction and didn't move at all. Ji Tianqing quickly retrieved the mysterious white light. His divine soul continued to penetrate Yun Yao's mind and came near the aquamarine orb. He saw that the aquamarine orb had become even clearer. Its power was also more stable and majestic. Without the suppression of the Devil Soul and Demon Qi, the aura of the aquamarine orb became stronger. Yun Yao's soul midget also gradually woke up. Seeing this, Ji Tianqing finally heaved a sigh of relief. He retrieved his divine soul and sat in front of Yun Yao. He silently circulated his energy and adjusted his breathing. About an hour later, the extremely weak Yun Yao gradually regained her consciousness and senses. Her soul took control of her mind and controlled her physical body and consciousness. She was truly awake. When she slowly opened her eyes, they had also regained their clarity. The dark purple demon qi had also faded a lot. Chapter 1072. Ji Tianqing's voice was gentle and low. His tone was a little complicated. In just a few words, there was too much sadness and sorrow. Only he knew that he had waited for this moment for too long. For this moment, he had traveled more than half of the profound sky continent and experienced countless life and death situations. Fortunately, he had resolved countless dangers with his extraordinary perseverance and strength. Finally, he had waited for this day. Yun Yao stared at him and pursed her lips tightly. Her clear eyes were filled with joy and excitement. Then, her eyes were covered with a layer of mist as tears welled up in her eyes. 2 sparkling and translucent teardrops quietly slid down from her eyes. She remained silent and didn't say anything. She only stretched out her arms and threw herself into Ji Tianqing's embrace, hugging his neck tightly. Ji Tianqing was also filled with emotion and excitement. His face was filled with gratification. He hugged Yun Yao tightly in his arms and closed his eyes. He used his cheek to gently rub her long hair and forehead, gently caressing them. Yao Yao, it's all over now. You've finally woken up. He gently patted Yun Yao's back and gently comforted Yun Yao, who was crying silently. At this moment, the cold and dark cave was no longer cold and lonely. The atmosphere had become warm. Yun Yao quietly lay in his arms and sobbed for a long time. Then, she wiped the tears from her beautiful face. She raised her head to look at Ji Tianqing and stared into his eyes. She slowly stretched out her hands to hold his cheeks and said softly, "Tianqing, you've suffered for the past 10 months." Her voice was a little choked, and her eyes were still a little red. Although she did not know what Ji Tianqing had gone through in the past 10 months, she knew that Ji Tianqing had been through a lot. However, Ji Tianqing had broken into the northern desert alone and rescued her from the Saintess Palace. It was already an extremely dangerous thing. She didn't need to ask to guess that in the past few months, Ji Tianqing was definitely in more pain and danger than she was. Ji Tianqing raised his hands and held her soft little hands. He gently shook his head and said, "Yao Yao, as long as I can wake you up and see you again, I won't suffer. Everything will be worth it." Yun Yao's heart was once again touched by his simple words of love, and a strong sense of longing and regret arose in her heart. The two of them hugged each other tightly again, whispering their thoughts and asking about what had happened in the past 10 months. At the same time, in the heavenly devil palace tens of thousands of miles away, the ice mountain was filled with a thick murderous aura. Even the blood river at the foot of the mountain was more turbulent than usual. Thousands of guards of the demon clan left the ice mountain in groups, rushing in all directions to search the ice plains and snow mountains. At the peak of the ice mountain, in the discussion hall of the heavenly devil palace, the tall and burly ancient demon emperor, who had 2 heads and a head full of silver hair, held the demon god scepter in his hand and sat on the demon emperor's throne. His face was cold, and his body was filled with murderous intent. All 4 of his eyes were bloodshot. In the discussion hall, there were 3 tall and burly demon clan powerhouses quietly waiting for orders. 2 of them stood tall and straight. One of them was a male demon wrapped in black armor. He was the great demon commander Mingyi. The other male demon was wearing purple armor, a scarlet cape, and a black iron half-mask that covered half of his face. This person's strength was second only to the great demon commander Mingyi. He was the second demon commander, Duan Hun. He was a mysterious powerhouse with a gloomy and cold temperament, like a ghost. As for the third demon clan powerhouse, he was the Sky Barbarian demon commander. However, he was different from Mingyi and Duan Hun. He didn't dare to stand. Instead, he knelt in the discussion hall and buried his head deep in his chest, as if he was admitting his guilt and accepting his death. The atmosphere in the discussion hall was extremely stifling, such that the dozen or so guards standing in the corner did not even dare to breathe loudly. The ancient demon emperor held his scepter and stared at the Sky Barbarian demon commander coldly. He said coldly, "Yun Yao may not be a subject of my race, but she will become the blood god Scion and be under my control. In the future, she will definitely be a sharp blade under my command. She will be far more useful and powerful than any of you. Moreover, she has the Neptunian divine pearl. She's the reincarnation of a fragment of goddess Yaoguang's soul. When I carried out the blood god Scion plan back then, I warned you not to underestimate her and not to let anything happen to her. And in the end, I've only been in seclusion for a month, and such a huge thing has happened." The demon emperor's voice was very cold. It was filled with heavy anger and hatred, which made everyone shiver. They felt fear from the bottom of their souls. "Sky Barbarian, I trusted you, which was why I sent you to choose a personal guard. However, you have not been loyal to your duty, nor have you investigated the candidates for the personal guard. Now, the Saintess has gone missing. She has been taken away by a personal guard. Who can use a secret technique to remove the bloodline curse for my people? Who can baptize my people and give them a new lease of life? How can I bear such a huge loss? The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander immediately trembled. He kowtowed and admitted his mistake. Your Majesty, this is all because of my negligence. It's all my fault. Please punish me, Your Majesty. I would rather die for my sins. The Demon Emperor frowned and scolded coldly, even if you kowtow and admit your mistake, even if you commit suicide before me, what's the point? The most important thing right now is to find the Saintess immediately. Find out who that blunder is. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander hurriedly nodded and said, Your Majesty, I personally went to the Yuyong tribe the night of the incident to investigate. I'm certain that the Saintess has been taken away by the blunder. It's very likely that she has fled to the south. In the past few days, I've sent out over 12,000 guards. They've been split into over 1,000 teams to search the area within a radius of several 100,000 kilometers. In addition, this subordinate has also issued an order to mobilize the elite guards of dozens of tribes to conduct a search in the surrounding area. Before he could finish, a guard commander hurriedly strode into the hall and rushed into the hall in a panic. Your Majesty, something bad has happened. Hearing this voice, everyone immediately turned to look at him. The demon commanders immediately recognized that this guard commander was in charge of guarding the Life Spirit Palace and the Life Spirit Lamp. At the same time, the guard commander rushed into the hall and knelt down on one knee. He said in fear and trepidation, Your Majesty, the Saintess's Life Spirit Lamp has extinguished. This sudden news caused everyone's bodies to tremble, and their eyes were filled with shock. The three demon commanders sensed that something bad had happened. Their hearts were filled with fear and despair. The demon emperor's expression changed drastically. In a flash, he rushed out of the hall and turned into a black fog of demonic chi, rushing toward the Life Spirit Palace. The three demon commanders did not dare to hesitate. They quickly turned and left the hall, rushing toward the Life Spirit Palace. When everyone arrived at the Life Spirit Palace, they saw the Demon Emperor standing in the hall. There were a few rows of ice crystal cabinets on both sides of the hall. There were hundreds of strange-looking Life Spirit lamps on them. Each Life Spirit lamp was lit with a faint blue soul fire. Chapter 1073. Silence reigned in the hall. The three demon marshals were rooted to the spot, their eyes fixed on the extinguished soul lamp. Gazing at the demon king's back, they could clearly sense the monstrous rage and murderous intent accumulating in his body. Although the demon king stood motionless and looked as calm as ever, his expression would not change even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. But the three demon marshals knew that the demon king's rage had reached its peak. The soul lamp has extinguished. The holy maiden's demonic soul has been obliterated. Her original soul is about to awaken. The demon king stared at the soul lamp, his voice low and cold as he murmured. His entire body was filled with dense demonic energy, his aura cold and sinister to the extreme. Once it erupted, it would surely destroy the world. Demon Marshal Minji hurriedly said, Your Majesty, the holy maiden's soul lamp has just extinguished. You can use a secret technique to find her location. This way, we'll know where the guard took her. The Demon King said in a low voice, This emperor has used a secret technique to find her. The holy maiden is in the southwest, in the snowy mountains 50,000 miles away. The three of you go together. Gather all the guards and bring the holy maiden back. Don't kill the guard called Oolong. Keep him alive. This emperor will personally judge him. The three demon marshals were stunned, their eyes filled with disbelief. They never would have thought that a mere heaven origin stage guard would require 3 soul refinement stage cultivators to go and capture him. Wasn't this making a mountain out of a molehill? But they did not dare to disobey the demon king's order, nor did they dare to question it. They could only obey. This subordinate obeys. Rest assured, Your Majesty. With the 3 of us working together, we will be able to bring the holy maiden back quickly. Your Majesty, this subordinate will bring the holy maiden back within 2 days and deliver the guard to you. This subordinate will atone for his crimes by meritorious service. If he cannot complete the mission, he will pay with his life. With that, the three of them bowed to the demon king and immediately turned to leave the Soul Palace. A moment later, the three of them each led a group of 100 guards and rushed to the southwest as fast as lightning. Other than that, the three demon marshals also gave orders to mobilize more than 10,000 guards who were searching for the Holy Maiden. They formed a circle and approached the target location. Moreover, the few tribes within a radius of 100,000 miles also had to send a large number of elite warriors to cooperate with the guards. In a short span of 2 to 4 hours, a huge encirclement formed by tens of thousands of demon experts quickly spread across the land. With the snow-capped mountain as the center, within a radius of tens of thousands of li, demon warriors were everywhere, rushing over murderously. Not to mention 2 living people, even 2 birds would not be able to escape this encirclement. At noon, the sky was still gloomy and heavy snow was falling. Ji Tianqing left the cave he was temporarily staying in and was flying over a snow-capped mountain. At this moment, he had already changed his original body into the body and attire of his personal guard, Oolong. As for Yun Yao, she was recuperating in seclusion in the sword world. Previously, Ji Tianqing had helped her get rid of the devil soul. Her own soul had awakened, and she had regained control of her body. However, before her soul was demonized, it had been severely injured and had not recovered yet. Her soul was very weak, and she had to recuperate in the sword world for a long time before she could slowly recover. Moreover, she had only regained her consciousness and memories. The problem of her physical body had not been resolved. Her body was still demonizing slowly. Demon blood flowed through her body, and a powerful demonic power was accumulated in her body. However, Ji Tianqing did not have the time to stop and help her solve this problem. He could only leave the demon nest first and think of a solution after he had escaped as far as possible. Ji Ku, Qian Yu, and the little black dragon all knew about this. They all entered the sword world to accompany Yun Yao and help her recuperate. Ji Tianqing flew alone. He only wanted to escape from the northern desert and return to the central region as soon as possible. Although he was in the hinterland of the northern desert and was not far from the demon emperor's nest, he was in a very dangerous situation. However, he had saved Yun Yao and helped Yun Yao regain her consciousness. His heart was very stable. Unknowingly, 4 hours had passed. When he was flying above an ice field, a huge black demonic cloud suddenly appeared in the sky beside him. The demonic cloud was very fast. It flew across the sky as fast as lightning and chased after him. Although he was hundreds of miles away, he could vaguely see a small team of demon guards hiding in the demonic cloud. There were a total of 10 demon powerhouses, all of whom had reached the divine origin realm. Seeing this scene, Ji Tianqing's face immediately turned cold. A frightening cold light flashed in his eyes. Damn it! The demon race is so fast. In just one day, they found out that the saintess had been kidnapped by me. They even sent guards to find and kill me. Since this matter has been exposed, it will definitely alarm a few demon commanders. They will definitely send a large number of guards to hunt me down. No, I can't waste time tangling with them. Otherwise, I will be exposed even more thoroughly and be hunted down endlessly. These thoughts flashed through his mind. He silently analyzed and quickly made up his mind. He ignored the guards and exploded with unparalleled power. He accelerated to the south by 2 times. Swoosh! In just 20 breaths, he turned into a bloody light and disappeared into the sky. He had shaken off the guards. However, he had only flown a few hundred miles when he saw 2 huge demonic clouds in the sky in front of him. They attacked him from both sides. In each of the 2 demonic clouds, there were 10 divine origin realm guards. They were all elite powerhouses of the heavenly devil palace. This time, he was surrounded. He had no choice but to fight his way out. His eyes became gloomier. His lips were tightly pursed. He silently took out the broken sword of the burial of heaven. When the two demonic clouds were only 10 miles away from him, they stopped in the sky. Swoosh! The demonic clouds immediately dispersed, revealing 20 elite guards wearing black armor and carrying swords. The two groups of guards blocked his path. They were not in a hurry to attack. They slowly approached him. That guy looks like a personal guard who made a mistake. Quick, send a signal arrow to inform the demon commander. Many guards stared at Ji Tianqing. They let out low shouts and hurriedly released a signal arrow. A dazzling purple flowing light flew into the sky and exploded in the sky. It turned into purple fireworks that filled the sky like meteors. Such a powerful signal arrow was enough to be seen by everyone within 1,000 miles. I can't stay here for long. I have to end this quickly. Ji Tianqing muttered. Without hesitation, he held the broken sword and took the initiative to attack the guards on the left. Swoosh! His body turned into a bloody light. He cut through the dark sky as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to the front of the guards. Then, he brazenly swung the broken sword and slashed out a 60-foot-long sword light. Sword drawing style. Chapter 1074. Bang! With a muffled sound, the sword light flashed across the sky and hit the demon guards. Even though there were a few demon guards who were alerted in advance and spread out in all directions. However, the might of this sword strike was truly capable of splitting the heavens and earth apart. It was swift and fierce to an unimaginable degree. 7 Sky Origin Stage Level 2 guards were cut in half by the sword light. Demon blood splashed everywhere. They died on the spot. The other 3 guards were lucky enough to survive, but they were also injured by the sword light. They flew out with blood all over their bodies. Ji Tianqing had only used the power of the 8th level of Sky Origin Stage, but he had killed 7 guards within seconds. He had almost wiped out the entire team. He didn't go after the 3 guards, nor did he look at the dead bodies. He rushed to the team on the right without hesitation. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With a wave of his right hand, dozens of sharp sword rays shot out and enveloped the group of guards. Every sword light was over 100 feet long. Over 50 sword lights appeared at the same time, covering the sky within a radius of a few thousand meters. The 10 Sky Devil Palace guards were scared out of their wits. They tried to run away in all directions. However, under Ji Tianqing's sword art, they had no chance to survive. Bang, bang, bang. A series of muffled sounds echoed in the sky. 10 elite guards of level 2 and 3 of Sky Origin Stage were all cut into pieces by the sword light. They died on the spot. Countless pieces of flesh mixed with black or purple demon blood fell on the ice land from the sky, dyeing the ice land red. The air was filled with the smell of blood, but it was blown away by the wild wind. The pieces of corpses and bloodstains that were scattered on the ice field were quickly covered by the heavy snow. When the 3rd team of guards caught up, the sky was empty. Ji Tianqing was long gone. They hurriedly took out the compass, gemstones, and other materials. They sent out the message using the demon clan's method of communication. Then, they continued their pursuit to the south without stopping. In the next 4 hours, Ji Tianqing had been running as fast as he could. In order not to be discovered, he flew over the clouds in the sky. He didn't dare to stop for even a second. Even so, an hour later, he was still stopped by 2 groups of demons. After all, within 30,000 miles, there was a giant dragnet. Tens of thousands of devil race experts and experts were frantically searching for and surrounding him. One of the teams of demons was made up of guards from the Sky Devil Palace. They were all at level 2 and 3 of Sky Origin Stage. The other team was made up of elders and priests from a big tribe nearby. Although there were only 5 of them, they were all above the 5th level of Sky Origin stage. Without a doubt, the 5 of them were all elite demon generals. When the two teams met, they didn't need to talk. Even though the guards and experts of the demon race had never seen the personal guard Oolong before, they didn't know what he looked like. But in the current situation, they didn't need to investigate or ask anything. They could just arrest him directly. In any case, as long as it was a young devilish being traveling alone in this area, they were all targets for capture. He would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. Draw your sword. Ji Tianqing's figure flashed and arrived near the guards. He brazenly pulled out his broken sword and slashed out a shocking sword light. Shoo! 100-meter-long cold light tore through the dark sky and hit several guards in an instant. The guards at level 2 and 3 of Sky Origin stage tried their best to defend, but they couldn't resist the power of the sword. Bang! In just a second, the entire team of guards was killed. 8 guards were cut in half by the sword light. 2 guards were injured and flew away. Chunks of flesh and purple-black devil blood splattered across the sky, sprinkling into the clouds. At the same time, the other 5 demon clan experts brandished their swords, sabers, and dharma artifacts. They performed a dozen secret techniques and charged toward Ji Tianqing. The dazzling blood light turned into all kinds of spear shadows, saber lights, and giant blades. They were all slashing down. Black fog, demon chi, all kinds of poisons, and the shadows of demons drowned him. Ji Tianqing was in such a dangerous situation. He didn't panic. He formed a shield with the blood light to protect himself. More than a dozen secret techniques landed on him one after another, causing loud bangs as they hit the blood light shield. Bang! 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 When the blood light and the black fog disappeared, Ji Tianqing appeared in the sky safe and sound. He stared at those demon cultivators coldly. He used the burning sky palm with his left hand and slashed out dozens of sword lights with his right hand. Bang! The giant flaming palm, which was 1,000 meters wide, instantly blasted the 2 demon clan experts away. The 2 of them were blasted into pieces and burned into black ashes that filled the sky. The giant flaming palm didn't stop. It flew for another dozen miles and hit a snow mountain. In an instant, the snowy mountain that was thousands of feet tall collapsed on the spot, turning into a pile of rubble. The ice and snow melted and evaporated into water vapor that rose into the sky. The ruin revealed its original appearance. It was full of dark brown gravel and mud. On the other hand, Ji Tianqing's dozens of sword lights killed 2 powerhouses on the spot, shredding them into pieces. The only survivor was sent flying with serious injuries. He flew for 1,000 meters and landed in the clouds, covered in blood. He saw 4 of his companions killed instantly. He was scared out of his wits. He turned and ran without hesitation. However, Ji Tianqing caught up to him in a few breaths. He cut him in half with a swing of his sword. Demon blood splattered. The 2 halves of the corpse fell into the clouds, giving off a strong smell of blood. Ji Tianqing didn't stop. He put away the broken sword and continued flying forward. However, he had only flown 100 kilometers away when a blood-red mist that blotted out the sky caught up to him as quickly as an aurora. An earth-shattering roar came from the blood mist when he was still dozens of miles away. Wulong! You damn beast! Ben Shuai is here to catch you. Why aren't you kneeling down and begging to surrender? His voice reverberated in the sky and stirred up the gray clouds. When Ji Tianqing heard this voice, he immediately frowned, and his eyes became very serious. Oh no! It's the Sky Barbaric Demonic Commander. He remembered the Sky Barbaric Demonic Commander's voice and knew that the Sky Barbaric Demonic Commander's strength was around LV6 Spirit Cultivation Realm. Since the Sky Barbaric Demonic Commander was here, the other 2 demonic commanders should be here soon. By then, not only would he expose his identity, but he would also be attacked by a few demonic commanders. He would definitely die on the spot. At the thought of this, his mood and expression were extremely grave. He was anxious and furious. He only hesitated for a moment before he made up his mind. Forget it. So be it if my identity is exposed. No matter what, I can't be bothered by the Sky Barbaric demonic commander. I have to shake him off and leave this place as soon as possible. Chapter 1075. Whoosh! Ji Tianqing stepped on the Golden Soul spiritual sword and increased his speed by 3 times. He was like a beam of golden light flashing across the clouds. In just 2 breaths, he had left the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander dozens of miles behind. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander was stunned. The giant demon face formed by the bloody light was shocked. This bastard! What skill did he use? How could he be so fast? He frowned and thought for a while. Then, he used his soul power to sense the remaining energy waves in the sky. When he sensed the remaining energy waves in the sky, his expression changed drastically. Cold light flashed in his eyes. Damn it! He is not in the heaven origin realm, but he has soul power. He has reached the soul tempering realm. No wonder he could escape from the Saintess Palace and kidnap the Saintess. While the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander was shocked, he was also enlightened. He just wanted to catch the blunder and find out who this guy was. He could not understand why a powerhouse in the soul-tempering realm did not run for the position of Demon Commander. Why did he risk his life to go against the Demon King? After a while, he calmed down and sped up. At the same time, he also released a communication jade slip to send a message to Minji and Broken Soul Devil General. Ji Tianqing had done everything he could to get rid of the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander. He took the risk of exposing his identity and used his soul spiritual sword to escape. He was really fast. In just 4 hours, he had actually traveled 20,000 miles at full speed. An ordinary powerhouse in the soul-tempering realm would need to be at least at LV7 of the soul-tempering realm to reach such a speed. As time went by, the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander was left behind. He was like a golden shooting star. He broke through the dark clouds and left the Demon King's lair quickly. Even though he had encountered several groups of demon race experts in the process of flight and escape, he had never seen them before. However, he flew past those demon clan powerhouses at such an incredible speed. He did not stop at all. Finally, after 4 hours, he flew above a snowy mountain range. The Demon King's trap had shrunk to this place. He had to cross this mountain and break out of the encirclement of the demon clan powerhouses to get out of danger. Swish! When Ji Tianqing arrived above the snowy mountain on his sword, he saw several hundred demon experts scattered in the sea of clouds in front of him when he was still 100 kilometers away. Those hundreds of people were all at the Sky Origin stage. They scattered in the sea of clouds, waiting for him to walk into the trap. There were over 20 Sky Origin stage demon kings among them. The leader was at the 4th level of the soul refining stage. This man was the chief of a large tribe nearby, named Dishan. He had once received the recognition of the Devil Emperor and almost became the 4th Devil Marshal. However, he declined the Demon Emperor's order and insisted on being the chief of the tribe and leading the people of the tribe. When he saw a streak of golden light appear in the clouds, his eyes were filled with a cold, bloodthirsty light. His entire body was bursting with a powerful battle intent. He shook the blood-red cloak on his shoulders and raised the black heavy sword in his hand. He shouted, "The bastard who kidnapped the Saintess is finally here. Everyone, let's go and capture him. If anyone can capture him alive, I will make him the high priest." Hearing Dishan's shout, the hundreds of demon clan experts all roared excitedly. Everyone raised their weapons and rushed to Ji Tianqing with murderous intent. They started to besiege him. In their eyes, hundreds of demon experts besieged a bodyguard of the Saintess. Even if one of them spat, he would be drowned. If anyone was too slow, they would not be able to touch the dragon, let alone get the reward from Dishan. In the blink of an eye, over 300 demon experts had rushed to Ji Tianqing. Everyone waved their swords and sabers in unison, slashing out giant blood-red blades and demon phantoms that blotted out the sky and covered the earth towards Ji Tianqing. Swish! 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 Hundreds of secret arts, bloody light and demon chi covered the sky and the sun. They poured down like a heavy rain, covering Ji Tianqing's figure. However, he did not stop, nor was he afraid or dodged the attacks of over 300 Sky Origin stage cultivators. Swish! Golden light flashed on his shoulders and formed a pair of wings. The wings were folded in front of him, covering his body. There was also a sacred and resplendent golden light that condensed into an oval-shaped shield that protected his entire body. At this moment, he did not hide anything. He used the Kenshin battle robe without hesitation and activated the power of the soul-refining realm. Bang! 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 Endless secret technique attacks, all kinds of saber light, sword light, and giant blade phantoms continued to bombard him, causing earth-shattering explosions. The golden light shield was trembling under the attacks, but he did not stop. He continued to charge into the crowd. In the short span of 3 breaths, he had safely crossed 10 miles in the sky, and bravely rushed into the crowd of people. Then, he took out the broken sword, the burial of heaven, and started to kill. Metal Emperor Slash. Sky Burning Palm. Burning Sun Flame. Demon Slaying Sword. As Ji Tianqing shouted, huge swords that could split the sky and earth appeared one after another and slashed into the crowd. Huge golden swords that were hundreds of meters long slashed into the crowd. Any demon powerhouse that came into contact with the huge golden swords were either killed or injured. Within a radius of 1,000 meters, the mountain-like palm of fire struck more than 30 demon race experts. Although these people were divine prime powerhouses from various tribes or elite guards of the Heavenly Devil Palace. But in front of the sky-burning palm, they were as weak as paper. They could not resist at all and were instantly killed. 9 scorching suns appeared in the gloomy sky, carrying blazing heavenly fire as they smashed down, blasting the crowd into pieces. Ji Tianqing used all his power and used all kinds of secret arts. He killed in the sky until the sun and moon lost their light. In just 10 short breaths, he used 15 secret arts and sword techniques. More than 300 fiend race powerhouses were actually slaughtered by him rapidly. More than 100 demon powerhouses were killed in an instant. Their bodies were cut in half or turned into pieces. They were mixed with demon blood and scattered into the clouds. The air was filled with the thick smell of blood. The 100 or so surviving demon clan experts were scared out of their wits, and they retreated in horror. Now that things had come to this, they finally understood. The personal guard of the Saintess was not in the divine prime realm. He was in the soul-refining realm. They were only in the divine prime realm. No matter how many of them there were, they would not be a match for him. Thinking of this, everyone retreated far away. They turned to look at the most powerful demon on the scene, Dishan. Dishan was standing in the sea of clouds, staring at Ji Tianqing in shock. The shocking battle that had occurred earlier had exceeded his expectations, causing him to be completely dumbfounded. Chapter 1076. Dishan was a soul-refining realm warrior. Of course, he could sense Ji Tianqing's soul power. The soul of the human race was different from that of the demon race. Their powers and auras were quite different. In addition, Ji Tianqing had used all kinds of secret techniques when he was fighting against the 300 demon race warriors. Dishan could see that they were all secret techniques of the human race. That was why he was sure that this guard of the Saintess was not a demon, but a human in disguise. Moreover, this person must be a soul-refining realm warrior. Hearing Dishan's roar, the surrounding experts of the demon clan all revealed astonished expressions. Everyone looked at Ji Tianqing in disbelief. They furrowed their brows in confusion and carefully observed him. These Sky Origin Realm warriors couldn't believe that he was a young demon race warrior. How could he be a human in disguise? The demon race's body, blood, and demon chi couldn't be imitated. Di Shan couldn't explain it to them. After all, he was much stronger than them. Bastard, no matter who you are, you will die today. Di Shan shouted with a murderous aura. He rushed toward Ji Tianqing with his heavy sword and launched an attack. Bloodthirsty soul slaying. He held the heavy sword with both hands. When he was 1,000 meters away from Ji Tianqing, he fiercely slashed out a 100-meter-long giant blood blade. The giant blood blade was wrapped in a layer of soul-white light. It contained the power to attack the soul. The giant blood blade pierced through the sky and arrived in front of Ji Tianqing in a flash. It was about to hit him. Ji Tianqing was fearless. He waved the broken sword and launched a counterattack. In order to kill Di Shan as soon as possible and escape from the encirclement, he didn't hold back at all. Sword-drawing style. He shouted, waving the broken sword and slashing out a cold sword light that could tear the sky apart. Boom! The 100-meter-long cold sword light, carrying an invincible and destructive power, fiercely slashed the giant blood blade, creating a dull sound. Suddenly, the giant blood-red blade was cut in half and shattered into pieces that shot out in all directions. The violent shockwave mixed with thousands upon thousands of shards of bloody light formed a bloody torrent that swept across the sky for dozens of miles. The surrounding experts of the demon clan were forced back by the torrent of blood. Many of them were injured and were sent flying while vomiting blood. Di Shan's attack was crushed, but the power of the cold sword light was not reduced at all. It struck him hard. With a muffled bang, he was sent flying 10 miles away on the spot, falling from the sky. The armor in front of Di Shan's chest had been torn apart by the cold sword light, leaving a long and narrow wound on his chest. The wound was so deep that it almost cut Di Shan into two. He could even see his purple heart through the wound. Dark purple demonic blood gushed out like a fountain and sprinkled in the sky. Di Shan was severely injured by this sword attack and his body was almost destroyed. He struggled to fly back into the sky. His figure staggered as he stood in the sky, looking particularly miserable. The intense pain attacked him, causing his entire body to tremble. Billowing demonic energy and power gushed out of the wound and quickly spread out. His strength was rapidly weakening, and the murderous aura around him had weakened a lot. Damn it! You are so powerful, you are at least at the 5th level of the soul refining realm. Someone with your strength can't be a nobody in the human race. Di Shan held the heavy sword with both hands and stared at Ji Tianqing. He shouted in a low and cold voice, "Speak. Who are you?" Ji Tianqing glanced at him coldly and said indifferently, "You don't have the right to know my name." As he spoke, golden light gushed out of his body. His body merged with the golden light and turned into a 100-meter-long giant sword. The giant sword exploded with a destructive power, carrying an extreme murderous aura, and slashed toward Di Shan. The giant sword contained the power of the divine soul. It lit up with a dazzling white light and formed a giant white tiger shadow. White Tiger Sacred Sword. In an instant, the White Tiger Sacred Sword arrived in front of Di Shan and drowned his figure. Di Shan felt the terrifying power of the White Tiger Sacred Sword. His eyes were filled with fear and despair. No. He let out a desperate roar and used all the power he had in his life. He activated the 4 divine soul Dharma eyes and used the secret art of the devil path. Blood wings seal the sky. Blood light gushed out of his body and formed a pair of 100-meter-wide wings to protect him. The dark red, dazzling blood light immediately lit up the surrounding dozens of miles and dyed the sky blood red. The 4 blazing white soul Dharma eyes also released an endless amount of white soul light, which formed a light shield around him to protect him. In the next moment, the white tiger sacred sword slashed the white light shield, producing a deafening sound. Boom! The divine soul light shield that Di Shan had formed with all his strength couldn't withstand a single blow and shattered on the spot. The four divine soul Dharma eyes also dimmed and retreated back into Di Shan's body. Then, the white tiger sacred sword slashed the blood light wings. The defense of the blood light wings was very strong, but it couldn't withstand Ji Tianqing's all-out attack. In an instant, the blood light wings were shattered by the white tiger sacred sword and turned into blood light fragments that scattered in all directions. Without the protection of the divine soul light shield and the blood light wings, Di Shan was slashed by the white tiger sacred sword. His body was cut into two pieces on the spot and scattered in the sky along with the blood light fragments. In just 2 moves, Di Shan's body was destroyed. The more than 100 devil race experts in the sky were scared out of their wits when they witnessed this scene with their own eyes. Originally, Di Shan was an unattainable transcendent expert in their eyes. He was comparable to a top devil commander expert. However, they had never imagined that the extremely powerful Di Shan would actually be unable to withstand the attack of his personal guard's blunder, and that his body would be destroyed in merely 2 moves. This was just too terrifying. Only now did they realize that the target they were besieging had such transcendent strength. At this moment, a white light flew out of Di Shan's body and streaked across the sky toward the north as fast as lightning. It was Di Shan's divine soul. He was in complete despair and had no fighting spirit left. He just wanted to escape from this place alive. But Ji Tianqing would never let him go. He had been waiting for this moment. He waved his broken sword and slashed out a blazing white light blade. Kaboom! The white light sword blade, which was condensed by the power of the spirit, hit Di Shan's spirit on the spot and cut it into pieces, scattering all over the sky. Di Shan was completely dead. Both his body and soul were destroyed. The more than 100 devil race experts were scared out of their wits. They didn't dare to stay any longer and scattered in all directions. Ji Tianqing didn't chase after them. He sped up and flew toward the south to escape the encirclement. However, a devil cloud that covered the sky chased after him and arrived behind Ji Tianqing in the blink of an eye. The sky barbaric devil commander's angry roar came from the devil cloud. Chapter 1077. Ji Tianqing did not expect the sky barbarian demonic commander to come so quickly. Although he had killed more than 100 demonic tribe experts and Di Shan, who was at the LV4 spirit tempering realm, they had been delayed. However, these people had delayed him for quite some time, allowing the heaven barbarian demon marshal to catch up. Ji Tianqing was furious. He sped up, trying to get rid of the sky barbarian demonic commander. However, the sky barbarian demonic commander did not give up. With the help of a soul-level Dharma treasure, he sped up. After Ji Tianqing broke out of the encirclement, he flew for more than 10,000 miles in the sky. The sky barbarian demonic commander caught up with him when he was above a vast ice field. Swoosh! The demonic cloud covered in blood-red radiance was only 1,000 meters behind him. It released boundless blood-red radiance that covered an area of 30 miles. Swoosh! The overwhelming blood-red light turned into a light shield that was dozens of miles wide. It was like a heavenly canopy that sealed off the entire space. There was no doubt that it was the sky barbarian demonic commander's spiritual territory. The blood-red radiance released invisible spiritual energy and suppressed Ji Tianqing. He felt like he was in a quagmire and could not move. He had no choice but to stop flying. He stood in the sky and turned around to fight with the broken sword in his hand. The sky barbarian demonic commander showed up. He stood 1,000 meters away from him and looked at him with a hideous smile. Behind the sky barbarian demonic commander, there were 6 white spiritual Dharma eyes floating. They were like 6 huge eyeballs that stared at Ji Tianqing. Little bastard, aren't you good at running away? Keep running. The Sky Barbarian demonic commander extended his 4 wings and 6 arms. He stared at Ji Tianqing with his single eye that was filled with bloodlust. He was furious and filled with murderous intent. However, he had caught up with Ji Tianqing and trapped Ji Tianqing with his spiritual territory. He was not in a hurry to attack. Ji Tianqing had caused him so much trouble that he was almost executed by the demonic emperor. If he directly killed Ji Tianqing, how could he vent the anger and hatred in his heart? He wanted to slowly torture Ji Tianqing to death, using all kinds of cruel and vicious methods to torture Ji Tianqing. Brat, Ben Shui really underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be in the spirit refining realm. No wonder you dared to break into the Saintess Palace and kidnap her. Even Di Shan, who was at the 4th level of the soul refining stage, was killed by your sword. However, no matter how strong you are, Ben Shui can easily kill you. Ji Tianqing had been silent the whole time. He didn't waste any time talking nonsense with him. He directly waved his broken sword and launched an attack. Draw your sword. He wielded the broken sword with all his might, slashing out a shocking sword light that tore apart the dark red sky and charged towards the Sky Barbaric Demon Commander. The Heaven Barbarian Demonic Commander was smirking. He did not expect Ji Tianqing to start the fight without saying a word. He was stunned for a moment. Seeing the chilling sword light that tore apart the sky and earth, his pupils contracted and he was extremely alert. However, in the spiritual zone, he was the master of this space. Swoosh! In a flash, he teleported 1,000 meters away and narrowly avoided the attack of the chilling sword light. However, just as he heaved a sigh of relief, the chilling sword light changed direction and attacked him from behind. This time, the Heaven Barbarian Demonic Commander was unable to dodge in time and was hit by the chilling sword light. Bam! In a muffled sound, his cape was cut off by the sword light. His armor was torn apart and a huge wound appeared on his back. Demonic blood was gushing out. The peerlessly violent impact blasted him 10 miles away before coming to a stop. After he steadied himself in the sky, he glared at Ji Tianqing from afar. There was intense hatred and killing intent in his eyes. Beast! You're not from my tribe. You're a human. Although he was injured by Ji Tianqing, the wound on his back was so deep that his bones could be seen. However, this kind of injury was nothing to him. He quickly suppressed it with a secret technique. What really made him furious was that when Ji Tianqing used this sword technique, he exposed the aura of a human spiritual zone. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander glared at him with an icy expression and shouted in a dark voice, "Who are you, you little piece of shit? Why are you pretending to be one of my people?" Ji Tianqing silently circulated his cultivation and adjusted his breathing. He took the opportunity to take 2 soul-grade medicinal pills to recover his magic power. He pursed his lips and said nothing. He stared at the Heaven Barbarian Demonic Commander coldly and refused to admit it. As the Heaven Barbarian Demonic Commander cursed, he used his spiritual power to perform the Evil Eye secret technique to check Ji Tianqing's spiritual zone. Soon, he sensed something unusual. His expression changed and he thought to himself, "This kid's spiritual power and aura are familiar. I think I've seen them somewhere before." He must be a human powerhouse who used his spiritual power to take over Oolong's body. He pretended to be Oolong and secretly kidnapped the Saintess. Human powerhouses who are around the 5th level of the soul cultivation realm are famous. Ben Shui must have heard of them. This guy risked his life to break into the Saint Mountain and the Saintess Palace to rescue Yunyao. He must be very close to Yunyao. The Heaven Barbarian Demonic Commander's body shook as he thought of something. Could he be Yunyao's father, Yun Zhongqi, the Palace Master of Cloud Spirit Palace? Yun Zhongqi's strength was around the 5th level of the soul cultivation realm. Ben Shui had fought with him before, so he was familiar with his spiritual power. No. This guy's spiritual power was not Yun Zhongqi's. The secret technique he used did not seem to be Yun Zhongqi's technique either. Then who could he be? Who would risk their lives to break into the Saint Mountain to rescue Yunyao? Could he be Ji Tianqing? That's impossible. Ji Tianqing is only at the 8th or 9th level of the Sky Origin stage. How could he reach the 5th level of the Soul Cultivation realm in such a short time? The Heaven Barbarian demonic commander frowned as he analyzed the situation. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Ji Tianqing saw that the Heaven Barbarian demonic commander was lost in thought, so he took the opportunity to attack again. Sky-splitting sword. He held the broken sword with both hands and poured in the most powerful spiritual power. He unleashed the most powerful attack and slashed out a giant sword that could split the sky and the earth. That was the union of man and nature. It was the most powerful attack after the sword drawing style. The giant sword that was 100 meters long was gold and white. It fell from the sky and slashed at the Heaven Barbarian demonic commander. At that moment, the demonic chi in the sky was dispelled. The sky became bright and clean. The Heaven Barbarian demonic commander came to himself immediately. He looked at the giant sword seriously and teleported away to dodge it. Whoosh! He teleported 1,000 meters to the left and narrowly dodged the attack of the giant sword. He had been hurt once before, so he did not dare to relax. He teleported 1,000 meters away again, trying to get as far away from the giant sword as possible. Even so, the heaven-splitting giant sword had locked onto the aura of his divine soul, and it still slashed at him from 2,000 meters away. Bang! With a loud noise, the Heaven Barbarian demonic commander was knocked away again. Chapter 1078. The Sky Barbarian demon commander's injuries worsened again. The 2 wounds on his back were half a meter long. They were so deep that his bones could be seen. Demon blood kept gushing out. For the time being, he could only perform a secret technique to suppress his injuries and stop the bleeding. After suffering such heavy injuries, his combat power was greatly reduced. His strength was also draining. He was so furious that he was on the verge of going mad. His eyes surged with raging flames of rage, and they became dark red like blood. You bastard! Ben Shui will skin you alive and let you experience all kinds of pain and torture. He stared at Ji Tianqing and cursed him viciously. As he said that, he waved his palms and performed a secret technique to control the power of his godly soul territory. He formed thousands of bloody blades and demon shadows. Obviously, he had gone completely mad. He was going to perform his ultimate move with all his might. Ji Tianqing's face and heart were heavy. He stared at him cautiously, looking for an opportunity to attack. Although he had injured the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander, he knew very well that he was no match for the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander. The sword-drawing form and sky-splitting sword were his most powerful ultimate moves. However, he could not injure the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander after performing these 2 ultimate moves consecutively. He could not even destroy the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander's body. If it were a normal secret technique, it would be even harder to injure the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander had not performed his ultimate move yet. Once he did, it would be earth-shattering. Since I'm no match for the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander, I can't waste too much time with him. The other 2 demon commanders must be on their way. If I'm held back by the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander, I'll definitely be killed when the other 3 demon commanders attack me. I have to get out of his godly soul territory as soon as possible and shake him off. Ji Tianqing analyzed in his heart. He looked around anxiously, looking for a breakthrough. At this moment, the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander's strength had reached its peak. He performed his ultimate move. 7 Luminaries Demon Dance of the Sky. He waved his palms as fast as lightning. He controlled the vast power of his territory and released a terrifying force that suppressed the world. It pressed down on Ji Tianqing. At the same time, the gigantic bloody blades, sword beams, and spear shadows that blotted out the sky, mixed with the 7 bloody suns and the 9 bloody demonic dragons, shot towards Ji Tianqing. In that instant, the entire spiritual domain was in chaos. It was completely submerged by the dark red light, turning into a world of blood. Ji Tianqing was suppressed by the terrifying domain power, unable to move an inch, unable to dodge the attacks that filled the sky. Even the sword soul battle technique that he had created had no place to be used at this time. He couldn't use it at all. Tens of thousands of giant blood-red blades, saber lights, and spear shadows were the first to strike down, enveloping his figure. At this critical moment, he could only spread his golden wings to protect himself. Wings of the Golden Rock. Boom boom boom. The overwhelming saber lights and sword images continuously bombarded the golden wings, producing loud sounds that shook the heavens. The golden wings trembled continuously, creating layers of ripples, and the golden light became dimmer. Ji Tianqing was beaten until he staggered and fell from the sky to the ground. Immediately afterwards, 7 blood-red balls of light that were like scorching suns and 9 blood-red demonic dragons that were 1,000 meters long also descended from the sky. Boom 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 boom. Another series of muffled sounds exploded, shaking the world. Ji Tianqing was completely submerged by the bloody suns and demonic dragons. The golden rock's wings dimmed and retracted back into its body after its power was exhausted. Then, he was blasted from the sky and smashed into the ice field below. Accompanied by cracking sounds, the ice field within a radius of dozens of miles was smashed into pieces. Ice crystals burst into the sky, the bloody fragments covered the sky, and the dark brown rocks and earth were exposed. Ji Tianqing was lying in the ruins, covered in blood. His body trembled, and his breath became weaker. Finally, the hurricane that swept through the world dissipated, and the bloody light that blotted out the sky disappeared. Ji Tianqing struggled for a while, shook off the dirt and rocks that buried him, and flew back into the sky. His hair was disheveled, and his body was covered in wounds. His white bones were exposed, and blood kept flowing out. This demonic body was riddled with holes and was on the verge of collapse. If he didn't use his original body, he would have to use a lot of magic power to suppress his injuries. At this moment, the Sky Barbarian demonic commander stood high in the sky and looked down at him, laughing wildly. Ha ha ha. Benshui finally knows. No matter how well you hide, you can't escape Benshui's eyes. Benshui finally knows who you are. Bloody flames surged all over his body, and he stared at Ji Tianqing with his only eye. He said in a mocking and cruel tone, "I didn't expect this. Ji Tianqing, it's you, you little bastard. You've reached the spirit-refining realm in just a few months. That's incredible. No wonder you're not afraid of death and dared to come to the northern desert and break into the sacred mountain alone to rescue your wife, Yin Yao. Benshui was worried about not being able to find you. I didn't expect you to come to me yourself." There was no doubt that the Sky Barbarian demonic commander had seen through Ji Tianqing's identity. He had suspected that the Blunder Dragon might be Ji Tianqing in disguise. When he saw the golden rock unfurling wings, he was sure that the Blunder Dragon was Ji Tianqing. Although the answer was shocking and unbelievable to him, he still couldn't believe it. But he believed that it was the truth. Ji Tianqing's face was very gloomy, and his body was filled with murderous intent. He knew that once he used his divine spirit power to fight the Sky Barbarian demonic commander, his identity would be exposed. Now that the Sky Barbarian demonic commander had recognized him, he was not surprised. It was only a matter of time. He decided not to hide anymore and gave up on the Blunder Dragon's body. After his divine spirit left his body, it returned to his original body. Swoosh! A white light flashed, and Ji Tianqing's original body appeared in the sky. He was wearing a white robe, and his long hair was draped over his shoulders. His face was handsome, and his body was tall and straight. He looked like a peerless genius. Sky Barbarian Demonic Commander, so what if you have seen through my identity? You are not strong enough to stop me, let alone kill me. Ji Tianqing looked at the Sky Barbarian Demonic Commander coldly and shouted with murderous intent, on the day of my wedding with Yunyao, you followed the demonic king to kill us and kidnap my wife, Yunyao. I will never forget this blood feud for the rest of my life. One day, I will pay you back 100-fold. Then, he raised his left arm, which was as red as magma, and slapped out a huge flaming palm. Burning Sky Palm. The Burning Sky Palm, which was as huge as a mountain, slammed toward the Sky Barbarian Demonic Commander with a destructive force. The raging red fire turned the surrounding area into a sea of fire. The Sky Barbarian Demonic Commander looked fearful. He quickly used a secret technique to block the Burning Sky Palm. Chapter 1079. Boom! Amidst a loud, muffled sound, a hole was sliced open in the blood-red light barrier that covered several dozen kilometers in the sky. The Divine Soul realm that the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander formed with his Divine Soul Dharma eyes was indeed powerful. However, the realm was dozens of miles wide after all. How could it block the unparalleled sword chi of the sword draw form? When the 10-meter-long hole appeared, Ji Tianqing flew over without hesitation. He went through the hole and escaped from the Divine Soul realm. He was prepared and didn't want to be entangled with the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander. He just wanted to get out of here and get rid of the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander. Swish! After he escaped from the Divine Soul realm, he immediately took out his Divine Soul Dharma sword. He stepped on the 3-meter-long golden sword and flew to the south. In the Divine Soul realm, the sky-burning palm hit the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander and sent him flying. Although he had blocked the terrifying power of the sky-burning palm and was only slightly injured, he was delayed. However, he had been delayed and was unable to stop Ji Tianqing from escaping. When he rushed out of the flames, Ji Tianqing had already escaped from the Divine Soul realm and was 20 miles away. Bastard! Ji Tianqing, you sinister and despicable bastard, this marshal will definitely skin you alive and pull out your tendons. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander cursed angrily. He immediately put away the Divine Soul realm and started to chase after Chen Fan. Unfortunately, Ji Tianqing had opened up a distance of 30 miles between them. Even if he used the power of a soul-level Dharma treasure to chase after Ji Tianqing, he couldn't catch up with him in a short time. The two of them streaked across the sky one after the other, flying towards the south at the speed of light. 30 minutes after they left, two giant demonic clouds and crimson light appeared in the sky and flew toward them at lightning speed. The demonic clouds that were as black as ink and covered an area of 10 miles were formed by the Demon Commander Mingyi. The crimson light was formed by the second Demon Commander, Severed Soul. Both of them received the news and rushed over to kill Ji Tianqing regardless of the consequences. They were still thousands of miles away from the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander and Ji Tianqing. However, the two of them were stronger, and their flying speed was faster. They were slowly closing the distance between them. In another 4 or 5 days, they would catch up with Sky Barbarian Demon General and Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing stepped on the Divine Soul Golden Sword and flew continuously in the sky for 2 days. During this period of time, he didn't encounter any more attacks from the Devil Clan. After all, he had already escaped the encirclement. Even though the surrounding tribes had received orders from the Demon Emperor and the Demon Commander, and were trying to stop him, the Demon Emperor and the Demon Commander were still trying their best. However, the number of experts from those tribes was small, and they were scattered in all directions. It was impossible for them to intercept him. He flew without stopping, not daring to relax at all. Even though the Divine Soul Golden Sword had consumed too much of its power and its golden light was getting dimmer and dimmer, he didn't dare to stop. Even though he was physically and mentally exhausted and weak, he did not dare to rest. After all, the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander had been hot on his tail for dozens of miles. After 2 days and 2 nights of pursuit, the Sky Barbaric Demon Commander's power had been greatly depleted. He gradually slowed down, and the distance between him and Ji Tianqing increased. However, before he took action, he had made a military order to the Demon King. If he couldn't capture Ji Tianqing alive, he would have to commit suicide as an apology. Therefore, he wouldn't give up no matter what. He swore to catch up with Ji Tianqing even if he had to chase him to the ends of the earth. He hurriedly took out a magic treasure and used it to fly as fast as he could. It was a flying Dharma treasure. It was a black and quaint flying boat. The flying boat was like a small boat. It was 10 meters long and 3 meters wide. There were 2 pairs of black wings on the boat, and it looked like a dragonfly that had been magnified countless times. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander stayed in the flying boat and kept filling the formation of the flying boat with blood crystals and gemstones to provide a huge amount of energy for the flying boat. The flying boat shone with a dazzling blood light and flew across the sky at lightning speed, chasing after Ji Tianqing at an extremely fast speed. The distance between the two of them began to shrink again. However, using the flying boat consumed a lot of energy. It consumed hundreds of blood crystals and gemstones every 2 hours. The resources in the northern desert were very poor. Even an expert like the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander didn't have enough gemstones and resources in his pockets. He chased after Ji Tianqing with the flying boat for 2 days and finally caught up with him. In these 2 days, the flying boat had consumed 20,000 gemstones and 10,000 blood crystals. The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander only had so many resources in his interspatial ring, and they were almost used up. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. After catching up with Ji Tianqing, he attacked furiously and swore to tear Ji Tianqing into pieces. Swoosh! He got out of the flying boat and stood in front of Ji Tianqing. After putting away the flying boat, he took out a pair of dark purple demonic swords and charged at Ji Tianqing with murderous intent. Ji Tianqing, you little bastard! Ben Shui will skin you alive! Sky Barbarian Demon Commander roared furiously. He swung his swords and unleashed a barrage of blood-red swords toward Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing didn't hold back either. He immediately performed his ultimate move and counterattacked. Thunderbolt. He opened the third eye on his forehead. Destructive thunderbolt energy was released from his azure blue eyes. Kaboom! A thunderbolt light pillar as thick as a water tank appeared and shattered the blood sword radiance in the sky, drowning the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander. With a muffled sound, the Sky Barbarian Demon Commander was blasted 10 miles away and fell into a snow mountain below. Boom! The snow mountain that was thousands of feet tall was smashed into pieces by him. Gravel and snow flew everywhere. His body was charred like charcoal with black smoke rising from it. There were still lightning arcs flashing around him. He wasn't killed by the thunderbolt and his body wasn't destroyed. However, he was numb and powerless. He was badly mutilated and looked miserable. Ah! The Sky Barbarian Demon Commander crawled out from the ruins and flew into the sky while screaming and cursing hysterically. Bastard! Bastard! You reptile! Ben Shui will fight you to the death. He went berserk on the spot. He unleashed all his power and performed his ultimate move to fight Ji Tianqing to the death. Ancient Demonic Seal. He waved both of his palms, performing a mysterious hand seal, forming a blood-red light seal that descended from the sky and struck down from the sky. The blood-red seal formed by the ancient demonic words released a mysterious power that suppressed Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing was caught off guard. He spat out blood and his face turned pale. Then, hundreds of demonic seals came down and drowned him. At the critical moment, he entered the sword world without hesitation and hid in peaceful Soil City. Bang! 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 Countless demonic seals came down. The mysterious power hit the broken sword, burial of heaven, and loud thuds were heard. However, the broken sword was unharmed. It was still ancient, black, and cold. The heaven barbarian demon commander would not be able to destroy the broken sword even if he were to use all of his skills and techniques. Chapter 1080. Whoosh! Buried heaven steered the broken sword and streaked across the sky like an aurora, flying toward the south. In the blink of an eye, the broken sword had flown 20 miles away, shaking off the sky barbaric demonic commander. After all, the broken sword was a supreme-grade soul-level Dharma treasure. It was very close to the primordial soul-level divine artifact. Its flying speed was unbelievably fast. By the time the sky barbaric demonic commander realized what was going on, the broken sword was already 25 miles away. Then, the sky barbaric demonic commander had to take out blood crystals and gems to power the flying boat so that he could continue to chase after Ji Tianqing. In just half a day, the remaining resources in his infinite space ring were all used up. However, he still could not catch up with Ji Tianqing. They were dozens of miles apart. The flying boat lost its support and soon stopped flying, gradually coming to a stop. The heaven barbarian demon marshal had not only failed to capture Ji Tianqing, but he had also used up all the resources he had accumulated over the years. Furthermore, he had been beaten to a pulp by Ji Tianqing and had sustained serious injuries. He was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. He gritted his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. He could only keep the flying boat and flap his wings to continue chasing after Ji Tianqing. The result was obvious. His speed was much slower than broken swords, and it did not take long for him to be left behind. The broken sword flew towards the south without any hindrance. It was not blocked anymore. In the world inside the sword, Ji Tianqing stayed in a palace in the peaceful Earth City to heal his injuries. The palace was a building in the city lord's residence. Only he, Yun Yao, Ji Ku, the little black dragon, and Qian Yu lived there. The Golden Mountain King had specially built this place for them. It was extremely luxurious and comfortable. Ji Tianqing stayed in the secret room filled with spiritual qi. He took a few soul-level elixirs to heal his injuries and recover his dermic powers. Yun Yao was cultivating in the secret room next to his. Her soul injuries had already healed by 50%. Her soul and mental state would return to normal in 7 or 8 days at most. However, with demonic blood flowing through her body was slowly demonizing. Ji Ku, the little black dragon, and Qian Yu were all in seclusion, trying their best to increase their strength. Very quickly, a day and night passed. Ji Tianqing cultivated in seclusion for an entire day. His injuries had healed by 80%, and his strength had also returned to its peak. Only then did he leave the sword world and appear in the sky. At this moment, he was still in the hinterland of the northern desert, above an ice mountain and snowfield. The broken sword floated in front of him, its aura slightly weaker than before. He didn't need to ask the burial of heaven to guess that the broken sword must have consumed a lot of yuan qi after flying for 2 days. Now that the sky barbarian demon marshal had been shaken off, he was no longer in a hurry to escape. As he flew, he asked the burial of heaven, have you been intercepted or surrounded in the past 2 days? The burial of heaven's voice sounded in his mind. He replied calmly, I haven't. With my speed, other than the demon marshals, no one can discover or intercept me. However, during my flight, I have seen the demon race searching everywhere several times. It seems that they are here to intercept us. Hearing this, Ji Tianqing immediately frowned and said with a serious expression, it seems that the sky barbarian demon marshal must have sent the news back and reported it to the demon king. The demon king has ordered countless tribes to send out experts to search and intercept me. The burial of heaven nodded and said in a low voice, Tianqing, the northern desert is the demon race's territory after all. There are countless tribes and cities. As long as the Demon King gives the order, he can use a special communication method to spread the news throughout the northern desert in 2 or 3 days. I think the Demon King will be furious when he knows that you are the one who kidnapped the Saintess. He will definitely set up an inescapable net in advance to catch you and never let you escape from the northern desert. Ji Tianqing sneered with a mocking expression, so what if the Demon King vomits blood in anger? I am already far away from the Heavenly Devil Palace. He can't find me at all. Besides, other than the Demon King and the 3 demon marshals, who can stop me? I have to hurry back to the central region and find a way to get rid of the demon blood and the demonized body for Yao Yao. The Burial of Heaven was silent for a while and said in a low voice, Tianqing, the demon race's power and the number of experts are far beyond your imagination. The Demon King and the demon marshals are far more than the demon race's experts in the spirit refinement realm. Don't forget, other than the ancient demon emperor, there are 2 other demon lords who have declared themselves demon emperors. They also have a large number of experts under their command. Besides, the Demon King must have ordered countless experts to rush to the south of the northern desert and wait for you to walk into the trap. Even if you can cross the northern desert smoothly, it will be very difficult for you to cross the border, let alone return to the central region safely. Hearing the Burial of Heaven's reminder, Ji Tianqing pondered for a while and nodded, you are right. With the Demon King's nature and methods, he will definitely do that. Anyway, this place is not far from White Mountain City. If worse comes to worst, I will sneak into White Mountain City and ask for information when I pass by. The Burial of Heaven agreed with his idea and warned, sneaking into the city to ask for information is very dangerous. You must be careful. I am very worried that the major tribes and cities have built teleportation arrays. In that case, the demon marshals and a large number of experts will be able to reach White Mountain City or the south in advance and wait there to intercept you. Ji Tianqing was not unfamiliar with teleportation arrays. When he and Kun Wu went to the imperial court of the monster race in the western wilderness, they went from the Star Moon Manor outside the central region city to their destination via the mother-child soaring shuttle. If the major tribes and main cities of the demon race had built teleportation arrays, it would be a big problem. With a heavy heart, he maintained his vigilance and continued to fly to the south. 4 hours later, night fell. Ji Tianqing flew to a vast snowy mountain and stopped in the sky. 100 miles ahead of him was White Mountain City surrounded by snowy mountains. He did not rashly enter White Mountain City. First, he hid in the snowy mountains outside the city and secretly observed the situation in the city. About an hour later, he saw a ball of dark red blood light flying out of White Mountain City. That ball of blood light flew across the night sky and headed toward the snowy mountain Ji Tianqing was hiding in. When he got closer, he could clearly see that there were several demon race experts in the sky origin realm in that ball of blood light. Among them, the 2 leaders were wearing armor and helmets. They seemed to be the guard commander and the demon general. The other 6 experts of the demon race, judging from their clothes, seemed to be the elders and priests of some tribes. This team flew over the snowy mountain and leisurely flew in the sky. Everyone spread out and released their spiritual awareness, as if searching for something. Ji Tianqing immediately guessed that these people were most likely carrying out some mission, and it was very likely related to him. Therefore, he quietly followed behind the team, waiting for an opportunity to make his move. He wanted to catch those experts of the demon race and get some information from them. Half an hour later, the team flew more than 300 miles away from White Mountain City. Chapter 1081. 8 Heavenly Origin Realm Demon Clan experts were flying in the night sky, searching carefully. Ji Tianqing silently snuck behind one of the experts and suddenly launched an attack. He released a vast amount of spiritual energy, condensed it into an invisible spiritual blade, and stabbed it at the Demon Clan expert. Buzz! The Demon Clan expert didn't notice and was immediately hit in the head by the spiritual blade. The Divine Soul blade rushed into his head and instantly shattered his soul, killing him instantly. His body trembled, and his vitality was immediately cut off. He closed his eyes. His body also fell from the sky, crashing into the snow mountain below. Ji Tianqing was prepared. With a wave of his hand, he caught the corpse and put it into the spiritual treasure space of the soul-reaping bell. This scene happened in a flash. It was unbelievably fast. The other 7 demon clan experts didn't notice anything unusual and were still focused on searching. Ji Tianqing hid in the night sky and silently snuck toward the second demon clan expert. When he arrived behind the demon clan expert, he used the same trick again. He released an invisible spiritual blade and slashed it at the demon clan expert. Buzz! There was a muffled sound in the spiritual dimension. The middle-aged demon's body stiffened, and his soul was instantly destroyed. His body fell powerlessly. Ji Tianqing immediately caught it and put it into the soul-reaping bell. Next, he snuck toward the third demon clan expert. However, when he used the same trick to kill this person, the others finally realized that something was wrong. The 2 demon race experts stopped flying and stood in the sky, looking around in confusion. Where are the other 3? That's not right. They were just nearby. How did they disappear in the blink of an eye? The 2 of them muttered in confusion and transmitted their voices to each other. The other 3 demon clan experts who were further away also noticed the abnormality and quickly flew over to ask about the situation. What's going on? What happened? Did you find some clues? Ji Tianqing, who was hiding in the dark, saw the 5 demon clan experts gathered together to discuss this matter. His eyes immediately flashed with a bright light. Good chance. He made a prompt decision and revealed himself. Waving his palms, he sent out 5 giant golden swords towards the 5 devil race experts. Swish! Swish! 5 10-meter-long golden swords lit up with dazzling golden light, immediately illuminating the night sky. In the blink of an eye, the golden sword light struck the 5 demon race powerhouses. The 5 of them were all at the 4th or 5th level of Sky Origin stage. Even though they knew something was wrong, they didn't have the time to dodge or defend. With a series of muffled bangs, the 3 demon race experts were killed on the spot. Their bodies were cut into pieces by the sword light, and their blood splattered in the night sky. The 2 surviving demon clan experts were also severely injured. Their bodies were covered in blood as they flew backward and fell to the snowy ground below. Of course, the reason why these 2 people were able to survive was not because they were strong, nor was it because they had some kind of magic treasure to protect themselves. It was because Ji Tianqing had deliberately left them alive. Of the 2 survivors, one of them was wearing armor and a helmet, looking like a guard commander. The other one was a purple-haired old man with a solemn face, who looked like a priest of some tribe. The 2 of them fell from the sky and were about to hit the snowy mountain below. At the critical moment, Ji Tianqing sent out a giant golden palm and caught the 2 of them. He landed on the top of the snowy mountain and threw the 2 bloody demon clan powerhouses onto the cold snowy ground. The 2 of them didn't have time to care about their wounds. They just stared at him with their eyes wide open, full of anger and fear. Human. 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 Are you? Ji Tianqing. Damn it. Why did you come back to the White Mountain City? How dare you come back? Both of their voices were filled with shock and fear. When Ji Tianqing saw their reactions, a playful sneer appeared on his face. Oh. You have heard of my name and know that I have been to the White Mountain City? Ha! Ha! Great! I have found the right person. As he spoke, he waved his palms and formed a formation seal, setting up a temporary formation with a radius of 10 meters to seal off the snowy area. With the protection of the formation, his conversation with the 2 demon clan powerhouses would not be heard or discovered by outsiders. He looked down at the 2 of them and said coldly, "You are both smart people. Since you know who I am, you should know that I can kill you as easily as blowing off dust. My time is precious. I hope you can be smart and answer my questions obediently. Only then will you have a chance to live. Tell me who you are. The armored man and the purple-haired old man looked at each other and saw the fear, hesitation, and struggle in each other's eyes. The two of them were silent. They pursed their lips and didn't say a word. Maybe it was because of their loyalty to the demon clan, or maybe it was because of their pride and dignity, the two of them didn't want to speak. Ji Tianqing didn't waste any time. He flicked his fingers and sent out two golden sword lights, which cut off the left feet of the two of them. Immediately, blood splattered. The two of them were in so much pain that they broke out in cold sweat and trembled. The purple-haired old man looked at Ji Tianqing. He saw that Ji Tianqing's expression was cold and indifferent, as if he was used to torture and killing. The purple-haired old man felt a chill all over his body and became more and more frightened. His lips trembled a few times, and he finally spoke. I am Priest Yun of the Black Water Tribe. I was ordered to come to the White Mountain City to cooperate with the City Lord's mansion to stop you. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and looked at the armored man indifferently. The armored man's body suddenly trembled. In fear, he said in a low voice, I am Mo Cheng, the guard commander of the City Lord's mansion. Ji Tianqing nodded with satisfaction and said coldly, Tell me the truth. What is the Demon King's order? Who is in charge of the White Mountain City? You must tell me everything you know, or else. He didn't need to say the rest. Priest Yun and Mo Cheng understood. The two of them looked at each other again, hesitating and struggling. They didn't want to tell the truth. Ji Tianqing glanced at the two of them and sent out two more sword lights, cutting off their right feet as well. Mo Cheng endured the severe pain and clenched his teeth. He would rather die than tell the truth. Priest Yun was full of fear. He hurriedly replied, The Demon King issued an order to gather all the Tianyuan realm powerhouses in the tribes to search for you. Once they find you, they will report to me immediately. The news came out 2 days ago, and it has spread all over the northern desert. Besides, the Demon King also sent 3 demon commanders and a large number of elite powerhouses to the southern border. They set up a trap there, waiting for you to die. The Demon King ordered that you can't go back to the Central Plains alive. Ji Tianqing frowned and said to Priest Yun in a deep voice, Continue. Priest Yun hurriedly nodded. He endured the pain and humiliation and continued to tell the news he knew. As for Mo Cheng, the guard commander, he remained silent and did not say a word. Chapter 1082. Mo Cheng thought that he was discreet enough that Ji Tianqing would not be able to detect him. However, when he injected demonic power into the black arrow and was about to release it, Ji Tianqing suddenly turned to look at him. Swoosh! Without further ado, Ji Tianqing waved his hand and released a cold sword radiance, which instantly cut off Mo Cheng's neck. Mo Cheng's head immediately rolled on the snow, and dark purple demonic blood spurted out from his neck, dyeing the snow red. Mo Cheng died on the spot, and the arrow in his hand also dimmed and lost its power. Ji Tianqing killed Mo Cheng with a snap of his fingers, but his expression and eyes were calm as if nothing had happened. Priest Yun witnessed the whole process from a close distance, and his heart was filled with fear. He no longer dared to hide anything and told them everything he knew. Now, the entire northern desert knows that a human youth named Ji Tianqing pretended to be a member of our tribe and became the Saintess's personal guard. The Demon King ordered us to stop you at all costs and save the Saintess. All the Divine Prime experts from various tribes and cities have been mobilized, and many soul refinement experts are also heading south. White Mountain City is the only way back to middle ground. A large array has been set up in the city, and there are dozens of Divine Prime experts on standby. In addition, there are 2 demon commanders under the Ghost King, who are guarding White Mountain City. Hearing this, Ji Tianqing frowned, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He had been in the northern desert for more than 2 months, and he knew the situation of the northern desert and the demon race very well. Of course, he had heard of the Ghost King. It was said that the Ghost King used to be a demon commander under the ancient demon emperor. His strength and status were higher than the demon commander Ming Ye's. He had outstanding military achievements, and his methods were extremely ruthless and cruel. He had made great contributions to the demon race. However, after the ancient demon emperor was sealed, the demon race gradually broke apart and fought for power. 600 years ago, the Ghost Emperor fell out with Demon General Dark Knight and the others. He left the Heavenly Devil Palace and roped in many experts and tribes, establishing himself as the Ghost Emperor. Although the Ghost Emperor had painstakingly operated in the northern desert for 600 years, he had subdued countless scattered small and medium-sized tribes, and his forces had developed rapidly. However, the Heavenly Devil Palace was the sacred ground in the hearts of the devil race. Most of the devil race revered the ancestor devil god and the ancient devil emperor. The Ghost Emperor's power was still incomparable to the ancient demon emperor's. In the past 2 years, after the ancient demon emperor broke the seal and returned to the northern desert, he gained the support of the entire northern desert. The Ghost Emperor used to be a general under the ancient demon emperor. Now, he had to follow the ancient demon emperor's orders and lend a helping hand at the critical moment. Ji Tianqing understood this point and secretly thought to himself that if he wanted to completely eradicate the demon race in the future, not only would he have to get rid of the ancient demon emperor, but he would also have to destroy the Ghost Emperor's forces. After a while, when Priest Yun finished telling him all the information he knew, Ji Tianqing looked at him expressionlessly and said in a low voice, "Seeing that you know what's good for you, I'll give you a dignified death and leave your corpse intact. Kill yourself." Hearing this, Priest Yun's body trembled. He widened his eyes in anger and shouted, "Ji Tianqing! You bastard, you didn't keep your word. I've already told you all the information, but you still want to kill me." Ji Tianqing looked at him indifferently and said in a cold voice, "I only said that if you know what's good for you, you still have a chance to live. I didn't say that I would definitely spare you." He hated the demon race to the core and would never have the slightest bit of mercy. Priest Yun was furious and desperate. He glared at him with bloodshot eyes. After a moment of silence, he actually wanted to counterattack and self-detonate before death. He used the demon race's secret technique and burned his flesh and soul, accumulating an extremely violent power in his body. He did not hope to severely injure Ji Tianqing. He only hoped to explode with an earth-shattering sound and alarm the 2 demon commanders in White Mountain City. However, he underestimated Ji Tianqing's methods and strength. Before he could self-detonate, Ji Tianqing waved his hand and shot out a sword light, which pierced through his head. Then, Ji Tianqing put his and Mo Cheng's corpses into the soul-reaping bell. There were a total of 8 demon race experts' corpses in the soul-reaping bell. He activated the soul-reaping bell's array and quickly refined the 8 corpses. The majestic power refined from the 8 corpses was all absorbed by the soul-reaping bell. The soul-reaping bell was an evil dharma treasure that could devour a cultivator's soul to strengthen its power. Ji Tianqing used to think that this method was too insidious, so he did not use it to nourish the soul-reaping bell. But it was different now. He did not feel guilty about using the corpses of demon race experts to nourish the soul-reaping bell. Before long, he removed the array on the snowy ground and quietly left the snow mountain. He did not enter White Mountain City, nor did he fly south. Instead, he changed his direction and flew southwest. As he flew, he communicated with buried heaven through God's soul voice transmission. "Burial of heaven, the facts prove that your guess was right. The demon emperor has indeed mobilized countless experts and set up an ambush at the border. In addition to the demon commanders under the demon emperor, the ghost emperor has also sent experts to help him. I can't fly south now, nor can I cross the border to return to the Central Plains. I can only take a detour to the western wilderness and return to the Central Plains from there." The burial of heaven responded and said in a low voice, "That's good. As long as you don't expose your whereabouts, the Demon Emperor won't know that you took a detour to the western wilderness. No matter how powerful the demon race is, they can only guard the border between the northern desert and the central plains. They can't guard the border of the western wilderness. Ji Tianqing nodded and did not say anything more. He flew silently and hurried on his way. In order not to expose his whereabouts, he slowed down his flying speed and flew through the clouds in the high sky, heading toward the border of the western wilderness. Except for the experts of the spirit-refining realm, no one could discover his whereabouts. In the following half a month, he was indeed unimpeded. He did not encounter any obstruction or encirclement from the demon race experts. The situation was just as he expected. The experts of the demon race all thought that he had fled to the southern border, so they all rushed there. No one noticed the border of the western wilderness. No one thought that he would take a detour. Ji Tianqing flew continuously for 18 days and finally arrived at the border of the western wilderness. The border between the northern desert and the western wilderness was not like the central area of the northern desert, which was full of snowy mountains and ice fields. There were mountains and earth here, and even winding rivers. However, the mountains were all dark brown and barren. There was no greenery on the earth. In the evening, Ji Tianqing arrived at the border area covered in dust. Although he was physically and mentally exhausted, and his face was full of weariness, when he saw the undulating mountain range in front of him, a gratified smile appeared on his face. The endless barren mountain range was the border between the northern desert and the western wilderness. Chapter 1083. Although Ji Tianqing had arrived at the border of the western wasteland, he was finally relieved. But he was very clear that in recent years, the demon race had frequently invaded the western wasteland, wantonly slaughtering the demon race people in the western wasteland. On the border between the western wasteland and the northern desert, the flames of war had never stopped. Even if he was about to enter the western wasteland, he could not let down his guard. The border area must be guarded by the demon race army and powerhouses, he could not expose his whereabouts. He slowed down his flying speed, hid his mana, and quietly flew to the border mountain range. That mountain range was hundreds of thousands of miles long, there were countless demon caves and many large formations. When Ji Tianqing flew over the mountain range, he saw that there were many demon race soldiers hidden in the mountain range below, quietly moving through the mountain range. Squads after squads of demon soldiers were patrolling the area vigilantly. Inside the mountain range and deep underground, there were many demon caves that extended in all directions, faintly emitting powerful demon race auras. Without a doubt, there must be tens of thousands of demon race soldiers hidden in the underground demon caves. Soon, he flew over dozens of miles and arrived at the other side of the mountain range. In this mountain range, there were many houses and buildings, and also countless powerful formations. Ji Tianqing could tell at a glance that those houses and buildings were built in the style of the demon race. Moreover, there were a large number of birds and winged men in the sky, circling and flying, monitoring the surroundings. In the mountain range, there were several military camps hidden in the belly of the mountain, where tens of thousands of demon race soldiers were stationed. Fortunately, the border today was still calm and stable, there was no war between the two races. Ji Tianqing quickly crossed the border mountain range, and entered the western wasteland. As he went deeper and deeper into the western wasteland, the scenery in front of him gradually changed. On the vast land, green vegetation began to appear, there were soft grasslands and sparse woods. In the woods of some mountain peaks, there were all kinds of strange flowers and plants, there were butterflies and birds shuttling through the woods. Ji Tianqing felt as if he had walked out of the world of ice and snow, and returned to the spring of March, his mood was very carefree. A day passed quickly. He left the border area, entered the western wasteland territory, and began to see many demon race villages and cities. Of course, there were many demon race tribes in the mountains. Now that he was here, he no longer needed to hide his identity. After all, the demon race and the human race were allies, and there was no enmity between them. When Ji Tianqing passed by a huge city with a radius of 100 miles, he stopped flying and landed in the city. He stayed in the city for a day. While resting for a while, he also spent some spirit stones to get a map of the western wasteland. After carefully checking the map, he realized that the city he was in was the largest ancient city at the border. If he wanted to return to the central plains from the ancient city, he would have to head southeast. It would take him about 10 days to reach the border between the West Wilderness and the Central Plains. That was the border between the human race and the demon race. As long as they crossed the border, they would be able to return to the Central Plains. After confirming the route, Ji Tianqing did not stay any longer. He took advantage of the night to leave the ancient city and flew towards the human border. Now that I've left the northern desert, the Demon King and the Heaven Barbarian Demon Commander wouldn't expect me to be in the Western Wilderness, right? In 10 days at most, I will be able to return to the Central Province. At that time, I will completely solve the demonization problem for Yao Yao. While Ji Tianqing was flying, he was still calculating in his heart. Previously, he had checked on Yun Yao's condition. Yun Yao had recuperated in the sword world for almost a month. Her mental state had already recovered, and the injuries on her soul were almost healed. However, she was still cultivating in seclusion in peaceful Earth City. She was trying her best to suppress the demon blood and demon power in her body and slow down the demonization process. Ji Tianqing had consulted the burial of heaven before. It was not possible to solve Yun Yao's demon blood and body in 1 or 2 days. Not only did he have to help Yun Yao get rid of the demon blood and change the blood in her body, but he also had to remove the demon power in her body and transform her meridians. This process was very complicated and would take at least 2 months. Moreover, his vitality would be greatly damaged and he would be in a weakened state for a long time. Ji Tianqing considered these reasons and did not dare to stop to help Yun Yao get rid of the demon blood. He could only let her endure for a while and return to the Central Plains. Unknowingly, 8 days had passed. Ji Tianqing flew for almost 1,000,000 miles and was getting closer and closer to the border of the human race. He was still 200,000 miles away from the border of the human race. He could reach it in 2 days at most. On this night, he was flying above a vast primitive forest. This forest was hundreds of miles wide. Perhaps no one had set foot in it for thousands of years. It still maintained its primitive appearance. Countless powerful demon beasts were active in the forest at night. Waves of roars could be heard constantly. Ji Tianqing flew across the sky. He was still thinking to himself that after returning to the central continent, there were too many things to do. He needed to deal with them one by one. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed across the night sky not far away. It flew over as fast as lightning. Swoosh! The black shadow almost merged with the night sky. It was difficult to see it with the naked eye. Moreover, the black shadow was extremely fast. Its aura was also very hidden. It was impossible to guard against. In just 2 breaths, the black shadow caught up with Ji Tianqing. It was only 1,000 meters away from him. The black shadow released 12 black light blades without hesitation. They exploded with destructive power and attacked Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing was thinking about his next plan. He was a little distracted. Moreover, this was the hinterland of the Western Wilderness. It was almost impossible for demons to appear here. He was not prepared for a sudden attack. When he sensed the black light blades coming, it was already too late to dodge. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. 12 black light blades more than 30 meters long came from all directions. They enveloped his body and made it impossible for him to dodge. Before the light blade had even hit him, the incomparably sharp and fierce energy had already cut his robe, causing him to be unable to breathe. At this critical moment, he spread out his golden wings without hesitation to protect himself. Golden rock wings. In the next moment, 12 incomparably sharp black light blades struck the golden wings with a loud bang. Bang 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 bang. A deafening explosion broke the silence of the night and spread over a radius of 100 miles. The golden rock's wings blocked the attack of the black light blade, shattering it into pieces. However, the golden light of the wings flashed wildly. It consumed a lot of energy and immediately became dim. Ji Tianqing was also sent flying by the terrifying power. He tumbled in the sky for more than 10 miles before he crashed into the forest below. He smashed a huge crater in the dense forest, causing mud and wood chips to fly all over the sky. As soon as he got up from the hole, the black shadow quickly attacked again. It waved its fists and smashed out 2 huge fist shadows. It was only now that Ji Tianqing used his spiritual energy to see that the black figure was actually a burly man who was more than 3 meters tall and was covered in black armor. Chapter 1084. The burly man in black armor was wrapped in a cloud of black mist, exuding a cold aura of death. He stood in the night sky 1,000 meters in front of Ji Tianqing, revealing only a pair of scarlet eyes that surged with a cold light. His body, limbs, and head were all wrapped tightly in black armor, not revealing a bit of skin or hair. Ji Tianqing knew that this person was the most mysterious and most powerful of the 6 demon marshals, the leader of the demon marshals, Demon Marshal Dark Knight. It was said that other than the ancient demon emperor, no one had seen his true face. Ji Tianqing had investigated the information of the 6 demon marshals before, and he had also heard of the legends of Demon Marshal Dark Knight. Therefore, when he saw Demon Marshal Dark Knight appear, he immediately saw through his identity. After all, Demon Marshal Dark Knight was wrapped in the 9 underworld armor, revealing only a pair of blood-red eyes. His appearance was very obvious. However, Ji Tianqing did not expect that Demon Marshal Dark Knight would suddenly appear when he was about to return to the Central Plains. In his opinion, the 3 demon marshals, Dark Knight, Duanhuan, and Sky Barbarian, should be lying in ambush at the border between the northern desert and the Central Plains. Demon Marshal Dark Knight, how did you find my tracks and chase me here? Ji Tianqing looked at him vigilantly, his heart full of vigilance. Demon Marshal Dark Knight secretly released his soul power, sealing the night sky within a radius of 10 miles, quietly suppressing Ji Tianqing. He probably expected that Ji Tianqing had no way to escape and would definitely die tonight, so he was not in a hurry to make a move. He looked coldly at Ji Tianqing and said in a deep voice, "How can you imagine Ben Shuai's methods? Previously, Ben Shuai did think that you escaped to the south, so he went to the southern border to meet up with the other demon marshals to intercept you. However, you escaped to the border of the western wilderness, and the netherworld bees that Ben Shuai arranged at the border found your tracks and aura. Only then did Ben Shuai know that you actually turned around and escaped from the western wilderness." Demon General Dark Knight's voice was very peculiar. It was like the sound of metal colliding. It did not contain any emotion, and it was impossible to distinguish whether it was a man or a woman. When Ji Tianqing heard his words, he was suddenly enlightened. So that's how it is. I have long heard that demonic Marshal Dark Knight has raised billions of underworld bees and spread them to every corner of the Tian Xian land to collect information about various clans and powerhouses. Nothing that happens on the continent can escape your senses and probing. I didn't expect that even though I was extremely careful, I still couldn't hide it from you. He said this with a calm expression, but his mood was very heavy. He was considering how to escape. Demon Commander Dark Knight seemed to have seen through his thoughts, and said in a low and cold tone, "With your insignificant strength, no matter how careful you are, it will be difficult for you to escape from Ben Shuai's palm. Don't even think about running away. Since this commander has already found you, you will definitely die tonight. Ben Shuai will give you 2 choices. Either you surrender now, and Ben Shuai will not kill you for the time being, and will take you back to the sacred mountain to see His Majesty the Demon Emperor. Or you resist stubbornly, and Ben Shuai will kill you on the spot, and take your soul back to report on the completion of the mission." Ji Tianqing grinned and said with a cold smile, it seems that you don't understand me at all. The word surrender does not exist in my dictionary, Ji Tianqing. No matter how strong you are, I will fight to the death. When his voice fell, he suddenly took out the broken sword, and slashed at Demon General Dark Knight with all his strength. Divine sword draw, splitting mountains and rivers, sword draw style. The broken sword slashed at Demon General Dark Knight from bottom to top, and slashed out 100-meter-long sword light, which instantly tore apart the night sky. The sword light was dazzling, and it illuminated the area within a radius of 10 miles. The sword chi was incomparably sharp. Not only did it cut apart the night sky, it also broke the soul power secretly released by Demon General Dark Knight. In just an instant, the sword light arrived in front of Demon General Dark Knight and was about to hit him. However, Demon General Dark Knight's strength was far beyond Ji Tianqing's imagination, reaching an inconceivable level. Whoosh! When the sword light arrived, Demon General Dark Knight was still as calm as a mountain and as cold as ice. He actually did not dodge. He raised his palms and slapped out 2 giant black blades of light to meet the sword light head-on. Kaboom! Amidst the deafening collision, the giant black blades of light and the dazzling sword light collapsed at the same time, turning into fragments that splashed in all directions. The violent force actually sent Ji Tianqing flying 1,000 meters away, and he gasped for breath with a pale face. Demon General Dark Knight stood motionless in the night sky, as if nothing had happened. After Ji Tianqing stabilized himself, he looked at Demon General Dark Knight with eyes full of shock, and his heart was full of fear. Damn it! I used all my strength to unleash my strongest trump card, but it was easily neutralized by him. What level has his strength reached? 7th layer of the soul refining realm? Or the 8th? He was only at the 1st level of the soul refinement realm. Even if he used his strongest trump card, he could only match an expert at the 5th level of the soul refinement realm. Demon General Dark Knight's strength was mysterious and powerful, causing him to feel a strong sense of powerlessness in his heart. At this time, a murderous intent flashed in Demon General Dark Knight's eyes, and he shouted angrily, Ji Tianqing, if you want to die, Ben Shui will fulfill your wish. As he spoke, he raised his palms again and slashed out 2 giant black blades of light. The 200-meter-long black blades of light carried an icy aura of death, as if they were the scythes of the Grim Reaper. Ji Tianqing's divine soul aura was locked by the blade of light. He only felt his whole body turn cold, and a strong sense of fear gushed out from his divine soul. He turned around and fled without hesitation, bursting out with his strongest strength and fastest speed to escape into the distance. However, just as he turned around and flew 1,000 meters away, the 2 black blades of light slashed at his head. At this critical moment, he had no time to think. He immediately unfolded his golden wings to protect himself. Bam bam! The 2 destructive black blades of light fiercely struck him, causing 2 loud and muffled sounds to erupt. He was immediately sent flying 12 miles away by the blade of light, tumbling into the vast forest. With a boom, 1,000-meter-wide crater was smashed into the dense forest, causing mud to splatter everywhere. Countless cracks spread around the crater, and everything within a radius of dozens of miles was trembling. Ji Tianqing lay at the bottom of the crater, his hair disheveled. Half of his body was covered in mud. His face was ghastly pale, and blood was constantly flowing out from the corner of his mouth. His internal organs had already been injured. The wings formed by Kenshin's battle robe had helped him block the fatal killing blow, but they had also exhausted their power. They became dim and retracted back into his body. This Kenshin's battle robe had helped him block countless fatal killing blows. Although the power of Kenshin's battle robe would be exhausted every time and retract back into his body, the battle robe would never be damaged, nor would it leave any marks. After 3 to 5 days, the battle robe's power would automatically recover, allowing him to use it again. Ji Tianqing had lost the protection of Kenshin's battle robe, and was even more unable to fight Demon Commander Dark Knight. Seeing Demon Commander Dark Knight fly across the sky and charge over again, he did not hesitate to burrow into the ground and use the Earth escape technique to escape with all his might. With his current strength, he could only be crushed by Demon Commander Dark Knight. He had no right to counterattack. Chapter 1085. Ji Tianqing quickly shuttled through the ground, desperately escaping to the border of the central province. Demon Commander Dark Knight also chased him underground, chasing him as fast as lightning. The distance between the two sides was constantly closing, and Ji Tianqing's situation was also becoming more and more dangerous. Although he had already suffered internal injuries, and his internal organs had been shaken out of place, he did not dare to relax. However, he did not dare to relax in the slightest, nor did he have the time to suppress his injuries. He could only try his best to escape. An hour later, Demon Commander Dark Knight caught up to him, and was only 1,000 meters away. Demon Commander Dark Knight indeed took action, releasing a vast and majestic power, controlling the earth within a radius of 3,000 meters to ruthlessly suppress Ji Tianqing. Swoosh! Immediately, the earth within 3,000 meters collapsed and shattered. The endless earth and rocks condensed into a huge boulder with a radius of 100 meters, wrapping Ji Tianqing inside. Under Demon Commander Dark Knight's control, the huge boulder drilled out of the ground and flew into the sky. Ji Tianqing sensed that something was wrong, and immediately burst out with all his strength, ruthlessly shattering the huge boulder. Bang! With a dull sound, the huge boulder exploded from the inside, collapsing into millions of pieces that shot out in all directions. He had just escaped the bindings of the huge boulder, and unhesitatingly flew through the night sky, fleeing into the distance. However, Demon Commander Dark Knight was already prepared. When he shattered the huge boulder, he ruthlessly slapped out a huge palm condensed from the black light of death. Bang! Ji Tianqing was sent flying by the huge palm of black light on the spot, and his whole body was wrapped in a layer of black chi of death. He only felt that his body was stiff, and his flesh and bones were about to be frozen stiff. He was unable to move at all. Moreover, the black chi of death had invaded his body, crazily eroding his flesh and bones, and devouring his vitality. In just a breath's time, his skin had turned black, and his eyes had become dim and lifeless. Fortunately, the heaven-mending orb in his mind released a dense white light in time, which flowed through his limbs and bones, warming his blood vessels and bones. When he flew 10 miles away, the black chi of death that had invaded his body was completely dispelled by the mysterious white light. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Enduring his injuries, he hurriedly took out his soul magic sword, and stepped on it to fly forward. Swish! The golden sword emitted a dazzling golden light, like a meteor streaking across the night sky, and soon flew far away. Demon General Dark Knight was not on guard against such a consummate skill. His speed actually increased several times, and in the blink of an eye, he flew 20 miles away. Ji Tianqing, you're doomed. You can't escape this calamity. Demon General Dark Knight's voice was ice-cold as he shouted. Immediately, he burst out with his full power and turned into a hidden black light, chasing after Ji Tianqing. The two parties chased each other in the night sky, and the distance between them was getting closer and closer. Of course, as time passed, the two of them got closer and closer to the border of the Central Plains. 6 hours later, Demon Commander Dark Knight once again caught up with Ji Tianqing. He used his ultimate killer move and attacked Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing did his best to resist, but he was still unable to block Demon Marshal Dark Knight's killing move. He was once again heavily injured and vomited blood, smashing into a mountain peak. The Thousand-Zhang-Tall mountain collapsed on the spot, turning into a pile of ruins. Seeing that he was heavily injured and lying in the ruins, Demon General Dark Knight used his capturing technique to capture him and bring him back to the northern desert. At the critical moment, Ji Tianqing opened the third eye on his forehead and released a destructive thunderbolt. With a loud rumble, the lightning beam hit Demon Commander Dark Knight and sent him flying. Unfortunately, the 9 Underworld Armor Demon General Dark Knight was wearing blocked most of the power. Even if he was blasted into the ground by the thunderbolt, he was not injured at all. Ji Tianqing did not expect the Thunderbolt Spirit Eyes to injure Demon General Dark Knight. He only hoped that it could buy him some time and give him a chance to escape. Taking advantage of the time when Demon General Dark Knight was sent flying, he turned around and fled without hesitation. He was already heavily injured and had consumed a lot of his magic power, so he entered the sword world and used the Burial of Heaven to drive the broken sword to escape. Swish! The half-meter-long black broken sword burst out with an unimaginable speed and instantly cut through the night sky, leaving Demon General Dark Knight far behind. Demon General Dark Knight was still unwilling to give up. After crawling up from the ruins, he shouted angrily and continued to chase. Unknowingly, a night passed. After dawn, Demon General Dark Knight was still crazily chasing after the broken sword. The two were still 30 miles apart. The Burial of Heaven's power was indeed vigorous. The flying speed of the broken sword was comparable to Demon General Dark Knight. In a short time, Demon General Dark Knight could not catch up at all. Ji Tianqing used his power to heal his injuries in the sword world. With the help of elixirs and his own recovery ability, he temporarily suppressed his injuries and recovered some of his vitality. While healing, he silently calculated in his heart, with the speed of the Burial of Heaven, Demon General Dark Knight can't catch up at all in 4 to 5 hours. However, the Burial of Heaven will also consume a lot of energy to fly with the broken sword. At most, it can last for a few more hours before its speed will decrease. At that time, it will be caught. Fortunately, I'm only 12 hours away from the border of the Central Plains. The border between the Western Wilderness and the Central Plains is guarded by divine generals under the Imperial Court, as well as an elite army of 300,000 stationed there. As long as I escape to the border, I'll be safe. No matter how strong Demon General Dark Knight is, he won't dare to attack the border defense line. Ji Tianqing knew that the divine general guarding the border between the Western Wilderness and the Central Plains was one of the 4 great divine generals, the illustrious divine general of the Western Wilderness, Yu Tianhong. This person's strength and reputation were a bit stronger than divine general Xiao Han. He was also a spirit refinement expert who had been famous for 200 to 300 years. A few months ago, when Ji Tianqing was in the Eastern Sea, he had met divine general Xiao Han. In his impression, Divine General Dong Lin was a just and strict person, extremely dignified and intelligent. He was worthy of admiration and friendship. Since the Divine General of the Western Wilderness was more famous than Divine General Dong Lin, he must be more loyal to the imperial court and more upright. Thinking of this, Ji Tianqing hurriedly used his divine sense to send a message to Burial of Heaven, hold on for another 12 hours. As long as we escape to the border between the Western Wilderness and the Central Plains, we'll be able to escape safely. Divine General Yu Tianhong is guarding the border with an army of 300,000 under his command. He has built countless fortifications. No matter how strong Demon General Dark Knight is, he won't dare to attack the border alone. He'll definitely retreat. Burial of Heaven pondered for a moment, then said in a low voice, "No problem, I'll do my best to hold on until we reach the border." Ji Tianqing was finally relieved. He continued to circulate his energy to recover his injuries and magic power. Time passed quickly. The broken sword was still flying high in the sky, and Demon General Dark Knight was still in hot pursuit. Very quickly, 12 hours had passed. It was already evening, and the sun was setting in the west. Burial of Heaven's energy was rapidly depleted, and he was getting weaker and weaker. The broken sword was also getting slower and slower. However, Demon General Dark Knight was still full of energy, and his speed did not decrease at all. He was constantly closing the distance. Fortunately, 200 miles ahead, under the setting sun at the end of the horizon, a huge and majestic mountain range that was 10,000 meters tall appeared. The Mangu mountain range that stretched for millions of miles was the border between the western wilderness and the central plains. Chapter 1086. The Mangu mountain range had existed since the ancient times 10,000 years ago. It was said that the gods of the ancient times had once fought a great battle here. Today, there were still many amazing sights left in this ancient mountain range that stretched for millions of miles. There were giant footprints that were 10 miles long, huge sinkholes that were 100 miles wide, and several huge gullies that were hundreds of miles long. There were even unfathomable black holes that led to the depths of the earth. These miracles and sights that were hard to understand were all believed to be the traces left behind by the ancient gods' war. In the lofty and steep mountain range, there was a huge citadel called Mangu City. The citadel was guarded by the divine generals of the western wilderness and 100,000 soldiers. The other 200,000 soldiers were divided into thousands of teams and scattered in the mountain range that stretched for 100,000 miles. This 100,000 miles long border defense line was gradually built and perfected by the human imperial court and hundreds of thousands of soldiers after thousands of years of hard work. 1,000 years ago, the demon army broke through the western wilderness and tried to kill their way into the central plains. It was this defense line that stopped the demon army's advance. Because of this, Ji Tianqing was full of confidence in this defense line. He was sure that Demon Commander Dark Knight would not dare to break through the defense line, let alone chase into Mangu City. Whoosh! The broken sword cut through the sky like a stream of light. Bathed in the golden sunset, it rushed toward the impregnable pass in the Mangu mountain range. The impregnable city was located halfway up the mountain. To the west was a 3,000-meter high cliff, and to the east was a huge canyon. After passing through the canyon, they would enter the central plains. Although they were still dozens of miles away, Ji Tianqing could already see countless flags fluttering in the dark brown Mangu City. A large number of soldiers in fine iron armor were moving in groups or stationed in various sentry posts. 50 miles, 40 miles, 30 miles, 20 miles, the broken sword was getting closer and closer to Mangu City, and the scenery became clearer. Ji Tianqing could even feel a vigorous and iron-blooded aura coming toward him. After 10 breaths, the broken sword finally flew to the huge gate of Mangu City. However, the black gate that was 100 meters tall was tightly shut, and hundreds of elite soldiers were stationed on the city wall. On the city wall, there was a tower every 10 meters. There were huge ballistas, catapults, and sword formations. The defense was very tight. Moreover, the entire Mang city was protected by a soul-grade array. Even a powerhouse like Demon Commander Dark Knight would find it difficult to break the array's defense in a short time. The broken sword floated in front of the city gate, and Ji Tianqing flew out. Holding the broken sword in his hand, he stood in the air and looked at the guards above the city gate. He shouted, "I am Ji Tianqing, the domain lord of the Tianqian region. I am being chased by the demon commander. Open the city gate." His tone was dignified and austere. With just a few words, he made clear his identity and situation. However, the numerous guards on the city wall all stared at him with complicated gazes. They were all stunned on the spot, and no one dared to open the city gate. However, a few guards quickly left the city wall and returned to the city to report the news. Ji Tianqing shouted anxiously. He even took out the seal of mountains and rivers to prove his identity as the domain lord of the Tianqian region. However, the guards on the city wall were whispering to each other. They were shocked, confused, doubtful, and surprised. At this moment, Demon Commander Dark Knight caught up. Swoosh! He rushed out of the city gate without any scruples and stood 1,000 meters away from Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing, you are too naive. Do you think you can get away smoothly by escaping to the border? Even if you escape back to the central province, Ben Shuai can still catch you and bring you and the Saintess back to the northern desert, let alone a border checkpoint. Demon Commander Dark Knight shouted coldly with the sound of metal clashing. His body released a black fog of demon chi that soared into the sky, exuding a bone-chilling cold of death. Suddenly, the sky outside the city gate was covered by the black fog of demon chi, and it became gloomy and terrifying. When the hundreds of guards on the city wall saw Demon Commander Dark Knight appear, they were immediately filled with horror and shouted. Heavens! It's the Demon Clan! The Demon Clan is invading! Quickly report to the Divine General, the Demon Clan's experts are outside the city. Everyone be careful, don't be corroded by the demon chi. Everyone be on guard, quickly light the beacon and activate the defense. Instantly, the countless guards were thrown into chaos. They hurriedly ran away, letting out anxious and frightened shouts. Fortunately, the city wall was protected by the defensive array. Otherwise, these guards would have been scared out of their wits by Demon Commander Dark Knight and fled in panic. Demon Commander Dark Knight ignored the guards on the city wall and stared at Ji Tianqing. His eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty and cruel cold light. Ji Tianqing, die! He shouted angrily and waved his palms, shooting out dozens of black lights of death toward Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing's expression changed drastically as he quickly dodged. He waved his broken sword and slashed out a sky full of sword lights to block the deadly black light. The cold sword shadow and the black lights of death collided fiercely, and muffled ping 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 sounds kept coming out. Suddenly, the sky within a radius of 10 miles was filled with surging demon chi, and strong winds blew in all directions. Ji Tianqing resisted more than 30 black lights of death, but he was still hit by 4 black light blades. The white robe he wore was cut into pieces, and there were several deep bloody wounds on his chest and back. Dark red blood seeped out. Not only that, but he was also sent flying, and fiercely smashed into the huge city gate with a muffled ping sound. The 100-meter-high city gate trembled, and the city wall also shook violently, making the guards on the city wall panic and fear. Ji Tianqing fell under the city gate and leaned against it, covered in blood. He covered his chest with his left hand and panted violently. His hair was disheveled, his clothes were ragged, and his face was covered in blood. After a few violent coughs, blood gushed out of his mouth and nose. Demon General Ming Yi stood in the sky, wrapped in black fog. He looked at him coldly and shouted, Ji Tianqing, it's all over. When his voice fell, he waved his palms again and shot out 2 black lights of death toward Ji Tianqing. He had already made up his mind to destroy Ji Tianqing's body on the spot. Then, he would capture Ji Tianqing's soul and bring it back to the northern desert to report to the Demon Emperor. At the critical moment, Ji Tianqing had no choice but to use the soul-reaping bell to protect himself. The black lights of death hit the soul-reaping bell fiercely, and then hit the city gate with a boom. Suddenly, the defensive formation on the city gate was activated, and a huge yellow light barrier lit up. The light barrier trembled violently under the attack of the black lights of death, and the city gate also shook violently. The soul-reaping bell was also sent flying. With a boom, it smashed into the cliff wall not far away, creating a huge hole and countless cracks. Demon General Ming Yi was about to continue attacking, but at this time, the guards on the city wall suddenly burst into a burst of excited cheers. Lord Divine General is here. Great! Lord Divine General's arrival will definitely stop the invasion of the demon race. Accompanied by the cheers of the guards, a dazzling white light flew out from the city and landed on the city wall with a swish. When the white light faded, a tall and sturdy figure appeared in front of everyone. This person was a middle-aged man who seemed to be in his 40s. He wore a golden armor, a dark golden helmet, and a silver cloak embroidered with stars and clouds. His body was tall and straight, and he had a square face that was resolute and dignified. A pair of thick eyebrows and big eyes revealed an aura of iron and blood. Chapter 1087. The Divine General of the West Wilderness stood on the city wall, looking down at the situation with a dignified expression. He saw Demon Commander Dark Knight, who was shrouded in demonic fog and had a cold and powerful aura. He also saw Ji Tianqing, who was covered in blood and in a sorry state. However, he was expressionless and did not speak. He only stared at Ji Tianqing and frowned slightly. A strange look flashed in his eyes. Demon Commander Dark Knight temporarily stopped attacking and stood in the air, staring coldly at the Divine General of the West Wilderness. He was very powerful and was not far from the primordial soul realm. He was strong enough to dominate the world and look down on all heroes. Even if the Divine General of the West Wilderness personally attacked, he would not be a match for him. However, he had to consider that there were 100,000 soldiers stationed in the city, countless elite soldiers and powerful defensive formations. Most importantly, there was a teleportation formation in Mang City that was connected to the human imperial court. If the situation was critical, the imperial tutor and emperor of the human imperial court could come to Mang City through the teleportation formation. Demon Commander Dark Knight stood in the air coldly and indifferently, staring at the Divine General of the West Wilderness's expression. He wanted to know how the Divine General of the West Wilderness would react. At this moment, Ji Tianqing staggered out of the rubble and flew into the sky, covered in blood. He put away the soul-reaping bell and took a few breaths. Then, he looked up at the Divine General of the West Wilderness on the city wall and said solemnly, "Tianqian Region Lord Ji Tianqing greets the Divine General of the West Wilderness." As he spoke, he endured his injuries and bowed to Yu Tianhong. "Sir Divine General, this is Demon Commander Dark Knight under the Demon Emperor. He chased me all the way from the northern desert to here. I'm already seriously injured. Please open the city gate and help me." He explained the cause of the matter to Yu Tianhong and begged him to help him escape. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by Yu Tianhong. Yu Tianhong looked at him expressionlessly. His eyes were cold as he said indifferently, "You call yourself the Tianqian Region Lord, but who knows you? Who can testify for you?" Demon General Dark Knight was very powerful and was very close to the primordial spirit realm. His whereabouts had always been mysterious, and no one had ever seen his true face. "And you claim to be the Heavenly Stellar Region Lord, who was chased by Demon Marshal Dark Knight and fled from the northern desert to here. You can even make up such a ridiculous lie. How could you escape from the northern desert to here with your insignificant strength? I am very suspicious that you are a spy from the demon race, pretending to be one of my people to deceive me into opening the city gates. You want to help the demons break into the city and break through the defense line at the border. You damned demon spy, get the hell away from me, or I'll definitely kill you." Yu Tianhong's voice was cold and imposing. His voice reverberated in front of the city gate, causing the ground to tremble. After hearing his words, the countless guards on the city wall suddenly understood and looked at him with admiration. Yu Tianhong was the spiritual leader of these guards. In everyone's eyes, he was a famous general with unparalleled bravery and wisdom. When Ji Tianqing heard his words, he was stunned on the spot, and his face became very ugly. He never thought that he would finally be able to escape safely after going through so much to escape to the border and just as he was about to enter Mang City. The Divine General of the West Wilderness, Yu Tianhong, who guarded Mang City, had such an attitude and reaction. Ji Tianqing was a little absent-minded. He looked at Yu Tianhong in disbelief and muttered in his heart, "No." Even the Divine General of the East Forest, Shao Han, who is far away in the East Sea, has heard of my name and deeds. As a Divine General of the West Wilderness, Yu Tianhong must have heard of my name and know my identity. But I have no enmity with him, and we have never met before. Why did he treat me like this, pretending not to know me and not saving me? He immediately realized that there was something wrong with Yu Tianhong's reaction. Not only that, when he was in a daze, Yu Tianhong was looking at him with cold eyes. His mouth curved into a mocking sneer, and his eyes flashed with contempt. Ji Tianqing saw the change in his expression and was even more sure that he did it on purpose. "Damn it! Yu Tianhong and Xiao Han are both divine generals. One is fair, strict, wise, and righteous, while the other is sinister and despicable, not saving me. Looking at Yu Tianhong's reaction, he seems to hate me and can't wait for me to be killed immediately. Why? When did I offend him? At this time, Demon General Dark Knight sneered. Ha ha ha. Ji Tianxing, you didn't expect this, did you? Even the divine general of the human race who guards the border is not willing to save you. Ben Shui was also very surprised. Aren't you the #1 genius of the human race? Aren't you a genius? How come you are abandoned by the human race when you are about to die? How ironic. The heavens have decided that you are going to die here today. Demon General Dark Knight's voice was very harsh, making Ji Tianxing extremely angry. His eyes were filled with dense killing intent. He glared at Demon General Dark Knight indifferently, then turned to the Divine General of the West Wilderness on the city wall and shouted coldly, Yu Tianhong. I will remember today's matter. One day, I will make you regret what you did today. At that time, even if you kneel down and beg me, it will be useless. Ji Tianxing's voice was as cold as ice, filled with deep hatred. He suspected that Yu Tianhong was instructed by someone or colluded with the demon race, which was why he did not save him. However, he hid these words in his heart and would not say it out loud. After all, this was only his guess. Even if he said it out loud, Yu Tianhong would not admit it. Yu Tianhong looked at him with a mocking gaze and sneered contemptuously, You demon spy, are you angry because this general saw through your scheme? Humph. You dare to threaten this general with just a bastard like you? Ha! You'd better think about how to escape first. However, I expect that you will not be able to escape death today, and there will be no future. Ji Tianxing looked at him deeply and did not waste any more words with him. He turned and flew into the distance, desperately escaping. Demon General Dark Knight also laughed sinisterly, his eyes flashing with dense killing intent. He turned into a black shadow and chased after him. The two left the city gate one after the other and flew towards the mountain range in the distance. Yu Tianhong stood on the city wall and looked at Ji Tianxing's figure in the distance. The corners of his mouth hooked up into a sneer of gloating. Humph. Arrogant and ignorant little bastard, this general was worried that he could not find a chance to eliminate you. I didn't expect you to court death and provoke Demon General Dark Knight. It's really heavens will to make fun of you. You actually fell into this general's hands. This way, it will save you a lot of trouble. You are being chased by Demon General Dark Knight. This time, you will die without a doubt. After that, he turned and left the city wall, flying back into the city. A Sky Origin Stage Deputy General followed him. While flying back to the city, he asked, Lord Divine General, I don't think that person is lying. He is really Ji Tianxing. Moreover, he just took out the Domain Lord's golden seal. Lord Divine General, if we don't save him, if this matter is known by the Imperial Court and the Monarch Mansion, I'm afraid it will be difficult to explain. Yu Tianhong sneered disdainfully, this general guards the border of the Western Wilderness and protects millions of people of my race. How can I open the city gate for him alone? If Demon General Dark Knight kills his way into the city, who can stop him? If the demon army breaks through Mang's city and enters the central region, who will be responsible? This high-sounding reason immediately made the deputy general speechless. He fell silent and no longer spoke. Yu Tianhong warned again in a solemn tone, Ji Tianxing is being chased by Demon General Dark Knight. Today, he will die without a doubt. In the future, if the news spreads and the Imperial Court and the Monarch Mansion ask about this matter, you will have to answer like this. Even if the Emperor asks in person, this general will have to explain like this. This general thinks that no matter how much the Emperor values Ji Tianxing, it is impossible for him to ignore right and wrong and vent his anger on this general. Chapter 1088. Ji Tianqing endured his injuries, ignoring his tattered clothes and the bloodstains all over his body. He entered the majestic and boundless Manggu mountain range. Stepping on the soul magic sword, he flew as if his life depended on it. The soul magic sword flickered with a dazzling golden light, enveloping him as it shuttled through the mountains as fast as lightning. Demon General Dark Knight followed closely behind. He turned into a black light of death and flew across the sky, relentlessly chasing after him. With the passage of time, the distance between the two sides was constantly shortened, from 20 miles to about 10 miles. Unknowingly, an hour had passed. The two had already flown for 6,000 miles, far away from Manggu City. Ji Tianqing's strength had been exhausted, and his soul magic sword was extremely weak. The soul magic sword under his feet had also become dim. His flying speed became slower and slower. His vision gradually blurred, and his consciousness became more and more muddled. However, he clenched his teeth and held on. With his tenacious willpower and perseverance, he continued to fly for his life. No. I can't stop, and I can't faint. I've experienced so many dangers, and I've survived countless times. I've clenched my teeth and endured them all. I went deep into the northern desert, infiltrated the demon emperor's lair, and spent so much effort to save Yao Yao. I've already returned to the central continent. How can I fall here? These thoughts constantly flashed through his mind. His heart was filled with anger and unwillingness. However, his injuries were too severe. His magic power had been exhausted, and his soul magic was almost exhausted. He was already on the verge of fainting. He was truly in a desperate situation. No matter how much he tried to hold on, he couldn't hold on anymore. Demon General Dark Knight accelerated and chased after him. He was only 1,000 meters away from him. At the critical moment, the heaven-mending orb in his mind suddenly surged with a mysterious white light and poured into his soul. Suddenly, he was like a person who was about to die of thirst and suddenly drank cool spring water. The power of his spiritual energy was stimulated once more, causing the spiritual energy magic sword to regain its dazzling golden radiance. Its speed also increased abruptly. He rode the soul magic sword and ran as fast as lightning for another 2 hours, flying for more than 10,000 miles. However, the heaven-mending orb no longer released the mysterious white light. His soul magic sword was also completely exhausted. He closed his eyes in a daze. The moment before he fainted, he suddenly realized something. He thought to himself, so that's how it is. The mysterious white light released by the heaven-mending orb stimulated the hidden power in my soul. It can't help me recover my strength quickly, but it can stimulate my potential and overdraw my strength. But now, my potential has been exhausted, yet I still can't break free from Demon Martial Dark Knight. Only death awaits me. Am I really going to die in the Manga Mountains? After this thought flashed through his mind, he closed his eyes. Filled with despair and unwillingness, he completely fell into a coma. The dim soul magic sword flew back into his body with a whoosh and returned to his mind. He fell from the sky, drawing an arc in the air as he smashed into the mountains below. The terrain of this mountain range was precipitous and towering, and it still maintained its original appearance. Obviously, no one had set foot here. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth was very abundant. The mountains were covered by dark green forests, and in the deep valleys, there were countless exotic flowers and herbs. Perhaps, this was where Ji Tianqing was buried. To be able to die in such a peaceful and natural place far away from the world with a spiritual vein was perhaps the last gift from the heavens to him. Whoosh! When Ji Tianqing fell from the sky, the broken sword suddenly appeared and released a mysterious black light. It wrapped around his whole body and carried him forward. 1,000 meters behind, Demon Martial Dark Knight saw this scene and his eyes immediately revealed a sinister smile. Hee. You've finally fainted. You damned reptile, it's already a miracle that you can escape here. Now, you're dead for sure. As he sneered, he waved his palms and released a turbulent black light of death. It condensed into 200-meter-long black light blades and fiercely blasted towards Ji Tianqing. The power of the burial of heaven was also very weak. The speed of the broken sword's flight was relatively slow, and it couldn't dodge the two black light blades at all. Bang bang! The black light blades slashed the broken sword, and two deafening muffled sounds burst out. Immediately, the broken sword was blasted away and fell into the valley below. Its light was extremely dim, like an abandoned broken sword. Ji Tianqing of the broken sword sect blocked the two black light blades, but he was almost out of energy. The unconscious Ji Tianqing fell from the sky and smashed into the valley full of flowers and plants with a bang. The loud sound reverberated fiercely in the mountains and only dissipated after a long time. The broken sword was inserted into a large black rock in the valley, and it was still trembling and buzzing. Ji Tianqing smashed the moist and fertile ground of the valley, creating a huge pit with a radius of 30 meters. Mud, flowers, and wood splashed all over the sky. He lay unconscious at the bottom of the pit, half of his body buried by the dark brown mud. He lay there motionlessly. It was all over. Ji Tianqing and the broken sword had lost the power to resist. What awaited them was only to be captured and brought back to the Demon King in the northern desert. Swoosh! Demon Martial Dark Knight descended from the sky and landed in the valley full of flowers and plants. He stood at the edge of the huge pit and looked down at Ji Tianqing in the deep pit. A cold smile flashed through his scarlet eyes. It's finally over. Benshui chased you all the way here from the northern desert in vain. I finally caught you. You're only at the first layer of the soul refining realm, but you were able to create such a big storm and escape from Benshui for 1,000,000 miles. It's really incredible. No wonder His Majesty the Demon King views you as a great enemy and swears to kill you and take your bloodline. Now, your life, Kenshin bloodline, the soul of the divine sword, and the saintess have all fallen into Benshui's hands. His Majesty the Demon King's long-cherished wish has finally been fulfilled. Demon Martial Dark Knight muttered a few words to himself. Only then did he reach out his palms in satisfaction, grabbing at Ji Tianqing in the broken sword not far away. However, at this moment, a great change occurred in the depths of the valley. Swoosh! In the depths of the valley full of flowers and plants, a dazzling green light suddenly lit up. The rich dark green brilliance quickly expanded and turned into a huge curtain of light that covered half of the valley. Demon Martial Dark Knight's body suddenly froze. He frowned and looked into the depths of the valley, his eyes coldly sizing up the dark green curtain of light. At this moment, a crack suddenly appeared in the mysterious dark green curtain of light. It opened to both sides and formed a large door. Swoosh! A green figure passed through the door of light and stepped into the valley. Demon Martial Dark Knight could clearly see that behind the door of light was a vast world with mountains and rivers. He immediately understood that the green curtain of light was a boundary, and the door of light was connected to another alternate space. As for the green figure, it was a human old man with a head full of white hair. He wore a long green robe and black cloth shoes. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.